Hello! How are we all doing? Fingers crossed everything's working. You remember last week when I made the fatal error of saying everything was going tickety-boo? Yeah, this week has been a disaster. So that bodes well for the show. I can confirm I've got a running order slide, which is impressive. Oh, excellent. Right, I can say hello to everybody. Hello, Carol. Carol was in first, followed by Richard and Deb. And then a conversation between you and Carol. Hello, second Carol. Carol Leather. And what else have we got going on here? Peter. Hello, Peter. Hello, Jonathan. Hello, Renee. Office Crabtree. I used to love that programme. Absolutely love it. I know it's bordering on politically incorrect now, isn't it? Hello. But it was very funny. I liked it. Right, hello, Pandemonium. And who else have we got? Deb. Debbie's in the house. And have I said Peter? I'm sure I've said Peter. Right, I think we're all present and correct. Hello, Kim. I think I've got something for Kim. I remember thinking about Kim as I put something on a slide, but I have no recollection as to what that was. But we've got to get on with it, because when you see what we've got to cover, and I bump whimsical again. I know, but honestly, when you see what I've got to show you, jaws will drop. Although with Mike, I had to explain what you're looking at, didn't I? Yeah, that went well. Just saying. Right, so fingers crossed you will be able to see that. Apparently not. I'm lying. Okay, I need to do magic. There we go. Now you can see it. Awesome. So, bit of a change in running order. A lot of the early stuff is really quick, but fabulous. So I've moved the Obsidian from the end to the middle. So then we can do the freebies and Mike can do his Excel data input before we put our feet up and enjoy Firefly meeting Photoshop. It's wild, trust me. And then there's been an update to Firefly, which is free. And we have an unboxing. So busy old night is what I want. Let's get on with it. Right, we are broadcasting in 1080p. I also need to mention at this point that I've got a fan on. Not on me, which would be most enjoyable. It's alarmingly warm for the UK, isn't it?
It is.
In fact, I haven't looked at Izzy the Panda, so I know how hot it is. But I can tell it's hot. So the fan is pointing to the computer. I don't think it's detracting from the audio, but you let me know.
I can't hear it.
Good. Right, so let's pretend it's not happening and we're just keeping cool, the computer cool anyway, because it has had a couple of meltdowns over the last couple of days, hasn't it? It's clearly aware WWDC is around the corner and there might be a new kid. So we're broadcasting in 1080p, just about. Make sure you're watching in 1080p, lower right hand corner, near the like button, just saying, like button. So, the week at MacBites headquarters. Oh, thank you so much for a fabulous birthday last Friday. It was wonderful sharing it. It did mean, on Saturday, I still had cake left. Ooh, and it was fabulous. It was really fabulous, so I enjoyed that. In fact, I think we still had some left on Sunday, didn't we?
I think we did.
Yeah. There was a match on. Wasn't this a 3 o'clock thing again? I could quite get used to this. That's when football used to happen. But didn't that mean we were on the wireless?
On wireless.
On the wireless, yes. But it was all right. We can talk about the football. They won 1-0. They'd have to go all the way to Bournemouth to do it, though, didn't they? Which is nearer France than it is here. Considerably nearer France than it is here. While that was happening, I was catching up. Catching up with Carol. It's a thing. Yes, our Ship 30 Captain's Table thing was driving me mad. At this stage. This was only the second day I was doing it, though, in my defence. And can I just point out that, Vivaldi came into its own. I was still ploughing through my Captain's Table homework, but the tile pages view saved my sanity, because I needed to look at these two files at the same time. But more on that later. Tesco, I would like to say they surpassed themselves, but they can't tell the time, can they? This is proving problematic. It was booked for 9 o'clock. They rang at 7:30 to see if they could just come straight away. Mike, you were very forceful, weren't you?
I was.
No, I'm literally just going to sit down to my dinner. So they agreed a compromise, 8 o'clock, and they arrived at 5 past. But I think that's incredibly rude when you've booked a slot. But I did read this article, you know, one of these clickbait titles of something that customers do that the Tesco delivery staff don't like. And it was, they don't let them come whenever they want. Well, that's why I booked a slot, just saying. Anyway, that meant an early night, wasn't it? Which was just as well, preparing for Sunday. This kind of happened out of the blue, really. Mike's totally forgotten what we did, but I haven't. No, because we were on the full Monday. We were tempted to the dark side of Ventura. Now, there was a rationale for this. My machine had basically given up the ghost of doing any updates, security or otherwise, to the full Monty. It wanted Ventura or nothing. So, yes, I looked at it. Upgrade now, it said. So, I didn't even go with a backup, did I, this time? Because my backup drive's broken. That's the second one in 4 months that's gone. So I thought, you know what? I'll just make sure that I've got all my data off the machine, unplug all my drives, and we'll head off into it. So I started to download it. It downloaded blindingly fast. Yeah, that was where the fun stopped, though. No, seriously, it took 39 minutes. But as it was pondering with its little self, and it went into its first, suspended animation, bad things happened. And bad words were said. I mean, you do not need to see this in the middle of a system update. So what did I do? I thought, you know what? Nothing I can do. Carry on. Nothing to see. Until eventually it said about a minute remaining. So as I say, what's happened with the security updates? The security updates just won't update. So I'm looking at them and I've got like an increasing number of them, and I'm thinking I need to have these, and the only way was Ventura. So that was what we did. So the only way is Essex, isn't it? The only way is Apple's way. But when it rebooted, without asking me for a password, that's another saga. My computer was shut down because of a problem. I thought, no, it wasn't. It was shut down because you were supposed to be installing Ventura. So I said, okay, fine, get on with it. Then it said your computer was restarted because of a problem. And so it carried on, reminding me continually. Mike didn't discover the next bit for at least 5 days, which was everything needed permissions. So a lot of the permissions were there for audio and webcam, but the screen recording wasn't. So I don't know why you've got to redo that. Multiple times for multiple apps. But after I'd done the deed, you did the deed, didn't you?
I did indeed.
Then we had the inspector come in. Do you think they were from Apple? The inspector arrived. Isn't she gorgeous?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. There was a complete fiasco with Mike's install. We need to do a MacBite so we can share all of that. You may not see any difference with his desk, but trust me, Mike's total install took about 3.5 hours, didn't it? With shenanigans and cables and adapter. Yeah, it's all coming back to him now. But she's the inspector. Oh, she was fabulous. You'll notice at that point, this is not our cat. We don't have a cat. Lola was fascinated, wasn't she? When she's out and she sees a cat, she barks. When the cat came in the house, very tame cat, sitting on Mike's desk, she didn't utter a sound, did she? Not one peep. She was just stupefied. The cat then decided it needed to take the. You'll see she's pressing keys and looking at the screen to see what happens. Oh, your screen ended up brighter than usual, didn't it? She sat on the brightness key. But, at least it could have been worse. It could have been the volume keys. Anyway, she did come to see me before she left. Luckily, you could only see Mike's naked shoulder on that because you were topless, weren't you?
I was.
Yeah. So the cat saved you there. As I say, Lola was just stunned into silence. But she's now decided she wants one of her own to live here permanently. Or at least she did until we explained the concept of sharing the money for treats, that it would be 50% cat and 50% dog. Then she totally changed her mind. We have no idea what this cat's name is. You can see she's got a collar on and a bell on it, but there was no ID. So we've decided to call her Belle. Seeing as though that's the only clue we've got. But we really don't know. We think she lives quite close, but we're not sure. But she spent the majority of last week in the back garden, didn't she?
She did. That's where I found her.
So when Mike found her, then she wandered. And the dog was just... So that was great fun. Monday came around with my shiny new Ventura installation. What could possibly go wrong? I'm glad you asked. iCloud. I cannot... there are not words bad enough for me to explain how I feel about iCloud. I'm calling it the Living Nightmare Edition. It gets stuck. It gets stuck when it's uploading 2K. So obviously I do the Googles, see what other people are finding with it. You know, and they're trying to upload 4 gig. And I'm like, why would you put 4 gigs worth of any data on iCloud? The only use of iCloud, the only thing it never complains about is backing up my iPads and phones. So that's pretty much all I pay for. Absolutely useless. It just... And the thing is, when it goes into its suspended animation of not doing anything, it takes everything else down and everything else has to go really slow. I did find a fix. If you want me to demonstrate the fix, let me know. But I was there just waiting and waiting. How long could a full sync take when I had 24K to upload? Yeah, I wondered that as well. You'll notice, Adobe Firefly, I thought, what would it look like if I sat there till it actually finished? And then I found out, yeah, I'd have lost a lot of weight. Very bad words were said. So Monday was pretty much a write-off. But when Tuesday arrived, Tuesday was fabulous. Adobe had something to share with us. Yes, something else to share with us. Which was they have taken the tools from Firefly and put them in Photoshop, or they will be doing in Q4 this year. But more on that shortly, because if you're in the know, you can get your hands on it now. So Wednesday came around. Thankfully, on Wednesday, because I was still wading my way through my captain's table stuff. Yeah, all of that. And I was confused with the numbers, as I believe you were, Carol. There was a lot of numbers and a lot of dates. Anyway, all was clarified and, to be honest, simplified. Carol is way ahead of me. She's going to be at least 10 days ahead of me. But it's coming. I am now organised, so it's happening. Which took us to Thursday. We're wrapping up the Premier League. This is penultimate match, wasn't it? Yeah, he was a bit nervy, was Mike. If I'm honest, you were nervy, weren't you?
A bit.
He was a lot nervy because it was Chelsea. We even got an email from United about what songs we couldn't sing, didn't we? Yeah, which I won't talk about, or I'll get banned off YouTube as well. But there's a particular song that they didn't want us to sing. And I said to Mike, the only problem with doing that, bringing it to your attention, is it's going to be in mind. But then when I found out which one it was, I don't sing that one anyway. It's offensive. So we got this snotogram telling us we're not allowed to sing songs. But it was a good match. Now, I'm claiming credit for the second of those goals. I know it says Anthony Martial, but I deployed the toilet trick. So I'm claiming full credit for that, aren't I, Mike? So Friday came around. Now, you know, nothing big happens on a Friday, does it, apart from after hours? Except this week. Vivaldi. That's all I'm saying. Vivaldi. Go to see more on that in a moment. Just for Kim, this is what I was putting on a slide and thinking of Kim. It's all come back to me now. Now I know what the next slide is. Mike's shelf. The errant shelf that arrived. There you go. There's his shelf. Obviously not actually practical, is it, Mike? You're not actually stacking it to the gills. It's very strategically placed with all your Excel toys. Some people collect, you know, model railways and little plastic cars. Mike, Excel stuff, including his mugs. But that was the alpha, wasn't it? Because you then decided to restock.
Yeah.
Yes. So the final thing, as will be seen in his videos, is this. And I do have some bookends for the top shelf for you there, so it doesn't knock your mugs off. But yes, he's now all set in his new studio. So that's last week taken care of. Apart from, I mentioned, we were talking about A-ladies from Amazon. I'm not saying the word or it'll wake her up. We were talking about that, and I said the funniest thing I had seen in a long time was Sherpa's A-lady being very rude. Anyway, I said I'd find the link. That was the mug they were talking about. That's Sherpa the dog. And on the floor, this is all the stuff that people send him. And he was talking about that mug from Oregon when the A-lady went mad. So that's the link you need. This video is quite long. I think it's about 20 odd minutes. By the time we got to the bit with the A-lady, as I mentioned, I'd totally forgotten there was a joke coming with the A-lady. So that timestamp at the end will take you to the frame that you're looking at there. Listen carefully for when Jamie's speaking and the A-lady pipes in. I can't recommend that highly enough. It's classic. You've heard it, haven't you?
I've heard it.
We just laughed and laughed. So let's get on to something that's new this week. So we looked at ChatGPT last week. We've looked at, I don't think we looked at ChatGPT, did we? But we looked at AI in Craft and Notion. That was before we got ChatGPT. But we now both have ChatGPT because if I need to put long prompts into it, I need ChatGPT. I do not need the others. Craft doesn't remember what you've put in. It just deletes it, so you can't see what you put in without copying and pasting multiple times. And Notion does its own thing. So Notion's fantastic if you want to prime it with... So say we've got an episode of MacBites and we want a summary of it. That's fantastic. But long prompts and the pair of them choke. So ChatGPT was where it was at. We mentioned that ChatGPT was available for mobile, but only if you were in the States. You know, that old chestnut. Anyway, luckily, this week, 11 more countries have been added. Do you not find those countries a bit random? Because I do. I mean, obviously, the UK makes sense. Germany, Ireland and France makes sense. Even New Zealand makes sense, although they're not usually on the cutting edge. They're usually left till last. But if New Zealand have got it, why haven't Australia? And some like Nigeria and Nicaragua, I'm not quite sure of the logic of that, because I looked at it and thought, well, what about the Netherlands? What about Denmark, Sweden, Norway? No, you're not having it there. But if you are in the UK, and I've downloaded it, it's there. So it's pretty much exactly the same as you've got in a browser. Obviously a little bit smaller if it's on the phone. You can, if you've got a pro account, toggle between GPT 3.5 and GPT 4. The biggest difference is if you look at the bottom of that where it says message, you can actually talk to it. So that's using the technology on the phone that instead of typing it, you can actually talk to it. You do have access to your history, which is a panel that flies in from the left. And other than that, it's exactly the same. So it's free and you can use it with a free account. There is an in-app purchase that you can do, and now you've got a choice. Before, the in-app purchase wasn't an in-app purchase because it wasn't an app. With this, you would pay Apple rather than direct to OpenAI. Now, when I have a choice like that, I've got two things that I consider. Point one is, am I getting exactly the same as I would be getting direct? Sometimes that's not the case. So sometimes, like with Text Sniper, I got it from the App Store and I could install it on as many Macs as I wanted. But if you buy it direct, you can only install it on one Mac. So that's my first consideration. If it's identical, if there's no benefit to buying it from Apple, then I tend to pay direct because whoever is providing the app and the service lose 30% to Apple. And I would rather they have that than Apple, who are actually doing very little for it in this case. But I already had an account, so all I needed to do was log in. So that's now available if you live in one of the 11 chosen countries, or all hail the US, because they get everything first, don't they? You remember the last time the US didn't get something first? I'll find something. I'll find something. So, next thing to look at, Vivaldi for iOS. Oh, this is one of two things that are on my top wish list for 2023. One is this one, Vivaldi for iOS, and the second thing is ScreenFloat version 2. Doubt we'll see ScreenFlow 2. He's working on it, I know he is, but it might come out this year, but it's highly unlikely. But Vivaldi, they totally promised us. celebration time. It's actually here. It's here in beta. Don't bother watching the videos. They're shocking. So I've got some links where you can sign up for this, but the video is just, you can't actually see much of the browser, let's put it like that. But there is a page now available on the website, and it is in beta. It's in beta on iOS. The Android version is already released, so you don't have to worry about beta if you're on Android. But it's in beta, which means it's part of the, what do they call it, flight something.
Test flight.
Test flight, that's the one. Yeah, that. The reason I'm confused will become apparent. So this is the page that you need, and in here there is a video. Like I say, don't bother, but you can sign up to get a preview. So I did this as soon as they announced it, and I heard absolutely nothing. But that's the page you need to go to sign up. Don't expect an acknowledgement or anything, because there isn't one. To the point that I wondered, if it had been successful or not. However, I worked overnight because, did I mention, it's boiling hot here. It's fractionally cooler in the night, isn't it? But only fractionally. So I worked all night, and when I came to go to bed, I wasn't tired. One of those things where you just... I was so pleased I'd got everything done for tonight, I couldn't sleep then. Which meant I didn't get to sleep till after 7 o'clock. Notice the time of this email. 9:38. I didn't get to sleep until 7. Now, why was that a crisis? Well, when I read the rest of the mail, when I found it later, it actually mentioned that they're opening up these places on a first-come, first-served basis. And they were opening at 12 o'clock today. Noon's early when you work the hours that I do. I was a little bit after noon. I was peeved. Peeved because if you carry on reading that, it says to get started, use this link as soon as the window opens. So technically, should have tapped that or clicked that at 12 o'clock. I was a little bit after that. Bad words were said. Until that popped up. And I was in with the first batch, only just. But I was in. They tell you, don't you? These idiots, these productivity gurus, don't check your mail first thing. Rubbish, because I could have missed it. So luckily I did check my mail, and I was in there. So I had it installed. You go through the onboarding process. Doesn't it look like the desktop version? There are no skins yet. There are no themes yet. But I am happy to report it is brilliant. So do sign up for the early access if you are interested in that. Best thing so far, apart from just how fast it is, and it is blindingly fast, is that I could log into my Vivaldi account. So although we don't have yet dark mode or themes or stuff like that, once you've logged into your account, all your bookmarks sync. So I thought, okay, I've got a few bookmarks. I've reorganised my bookmarks because I didn't use bookmarks. But obviously with a mobile device, I can't use Typinator or Text Expander or anything like that. So I've reorganised my bookmarks, and I thought this will take the rest of my life to synchronise. It's synchronised in seconds. I'm like, whoa. And you can decide with your account how much you keep in your account. So, for instance, you can keep your bookmarks, your history, for like a month or 3 months. I keep mine forever. My history goes back to 2018, and it's still synchronised in seconds. So I tried my site. Absolutely perfect. The one thing that'll probably take me a little bit of time to get used to if I need it is the panel that I have on the right. I moved it from the left, is back on the left. So to see your downloads and all the notes and stuff like that, it is on the left. I don't know whether they'll be able to have that as an option, but it works. So it's already in my dock. Firefox is nothing but a nasty memory. There was one issue that I found as I was working with it, which was I decided I'd go to YouTube Studio, and it didn't like it. It sniffed my browser and it did not like it. It told me to get one of the other 5. But you'll notice at the bottom there is a skip to YouTube Studio button. So I tried that. Worked perfectly. So there was no need for all the histrionics. It was fabulous. It worked fine. So I'm not sure if I can demonstrate it. I'm certainly not trying it tonight with the heat. I'll have to find out. I didn't think through a few screenshots would upset anybody. But I don't know if we can do public demos. If we can do public demos, then I will show you more. Who's already done this and downloaded it? Let me know.
Joe's got a question.
Yeah.
Does iOS Vivaldi still have the Safari engine?
I'm not sure. They've not actually given us that much information. But in terms of how fast it is, I've never seen a browser that fast on iOS. Most of them have to do a little think about it. And again, it's struggling with the heat of the iPad, but also you pointed out that the router downstairs is going crackers, that the fans come on in that. We didn't even know it had a fan. So it normally I would expect that to be quite slow. I've actually had my desktop quite slow. When you started broadcasting your webinar at 6 o'clock, my internet halved. So the fact that coped was admirable, but I'm not sure. If I get more information, I will let you know. Right, okay, let's get on to the next thing. Something to show you. Right, Raycast have brought out an update. Now, they had access to emojis to start with, but if you are on Ventura, no, I didn't upgrade just for that. But if you're on Ventura, you've got access to more emojis, the full range of emojis. There is already a way to access emojis on the Mac. If you don't know, it's Control, Command and Spacebar. And on Windows, there is a key, which is the Windows key and the period key. And that gives you access to a little popover window with your emojis in. So why would I not use the default? Well, the default's been driving me mad for about 2 months. You press the key and it's not instant. Or not instant enough. So you start typing the name of the emoji. And half the name, which will be the first bit, appears in the app that you were in. And then the other half appears in this popover. It's annoying. So I was already having to slow myself down to work. But the Raycast one is more flexible because you can access it with either a keyword or a dedicated shortcut. So if you're not a shortcut person like Mike and you can't remember what the shortcut is, on the Mac you'd have to hunt around the menus. But within Raycast you'd only have to open Raycast and start typing emoji. I've tested it and it's faster, the icons are bigger, and they're also in a more predictable location on the screen. So let's go and see it. Right, for this I'm going to need text edit, which I tried it with the other night and it worked fine. Doesn't mean it'll work fine now because it's going to play with my mind. Oh, in other news, Mike, it was taking 20 minutes to open Obsidian. It's open.
Oh.
But I don't know where text edit's gone. I definitely did do that. There you are. Where are you? Oh, you're on that screen. Okay. Well, we just need a new blank document. We're not actually doing anything spectacular with this. We are just going to put some emojis in here, and so you can see them better, I am going to make this font much bigger. So even bigger than that. Even bigger than that. Right, that'll do. Right, so the default way to do it is the shortcut, which is Control, Command and Spacebar. And it did... Oh, you see how long it takes to come up? Well, I've typed whatever it is by then. And I've moved on. So if I want the robot, I just type the name of it. And it filters it to anything that could fit robot. But it's like in suspended animation. It takes its sweet time, put it like that. So that is the default way to do it. So again, Control, Command and Spacebar. Even when it's come up, it can be quite slow. So choose your emoji. There you go. Right, let's try the other way. So first of all, you bring Raycast up and you could type emoji. And you can see that in the results, the top one is search emoji. I would guess from that you could put SE and it will be in the list. Search emoji. So you don't even have to remember how to type emoji. Right, what you then get is inside the Raycast interface, it separates it into different groups, as does the default one. Frequently used at the top, that's me playing around. I mean, obviously you've got to have the smiling pile of poo, haven't you? And poodle was because that came up with it as well. But those are the ones that I've frequently used, so it's actually quite handy that they are available. But then if you move down, you've got smileys and people, and you can keep going down, and you will come across another group. Come on, let's get out the smileys and people. There's a lot of people, isn't there? There is a lot of emojis these days. I mean, they are going on and on and on. There we go, animals. Right. So you could search through like that. The other change that they've made is the emojis now, the names of them are the same as you would have in GitHub and other places. So, I know we'll try. I'll move out of that, but I'll try unicorn. There we go, unicorn. And in the unicorn comes. Now, if I go back into that, for me, I want it to be a shortcut key. I contemplated changing the default and then left it alone because it's in my memory at the moment. But I did create a shortcut key for it. So if we go back into there and you look at that, the way Raycast works, it puts your shortcut next to the actual command so you can learn that. So mine is all 3 modifier keys to the left or right of the spacebar and the spacebar. So it's very similar. It's 1 key different than the default. So if instead of typing that, I'm in here and I use my shortcut key, it instantly goes to that. It doesn't take you to Raycast and then you've got to type emoji. It takes you straight to the Raycast emojis. And from in there, I can just whip through these really quickly. Oh, there's my bad words one. We've done my bad words one, haven't we? You can whip through these really quickly and apply them. So it doesn't have that increasingly long gap between the shortcut key and the window appearing, and the window is much bigger. You also know with that where it's going to appear. It's going to appear in the middle of the screen, whereas the other one can pop up all over the place and then you've got to hunt it down and find it. So I actually think that is a really nice addition to it. Who likes that? Who likes that? Right, we've got any questions there?
No.
Oh, Joe says uses Brave as the browser on the iPad. I tried that, but I must admit, the few things that I do with a browser on iOS, I need those commands to be logical. And I found with Brave, they were all over the place. Now, it's probably because I'm so used to Firefox. I've used Firefox for years. On the odd occasion that Safari opens, I'm like, hello, who are you? Everything is just bizarrely placed. So I was concerned with Vivaldi that, I'd open it and then find out stuff was in the wrong place. But actually, no. The number one thing that I do is send it somewhere. So I've got an active page and I want to send it somewhere using the share sheet. And that is actually to the right-hand side of the URL. You don't even have to go to a menu for it. It's fabulous. But Brave is a very good browser, indeed.
Carol says she likes that. How does she update Raycast?
Right, it should update itself. It usually does. If you go into Raycast and you go into here, isn't there an update? Let's have a look. Well, you can certainly see at the end here which version it is. So I'm on 1521. Are you on that version? Is that available in the free version? Yes, it is. Yes, the advanced features are pretty weird, to be honest, some of them. Like the cloud sync and AI and stuff. I can understand paying for the AI, but the cloud sync would be nice outside it. But no, that's in the free version. How I update, I get a little notification if I've got an update. So if I go into, it's an app that I've demonstrated before, which is this one here. It's called Mac Updater, and that tells me what needs updating. And obviously, Hindenburg needs updating to the paid-for version rather than the beta. But it will come up there for me and tell me whether it needs updating or not. But it tends to update itself. So just make sure you've got that version and you should be good to go. Not sure if you can force an update in here. Or can you just say update? Would it check for updates? There you go. Just type update. Check for updates. You can also check for the extension updates, which I don't think I've done in ages. Leave it alone. Don't start updating things. There you go. Is it T Andrew or Andrew? Either way. Thank you. Type update and you're done. Right, we got any more questions on that?
No.
All I've got to remember now is to use the right shortcut key. But it does infuriate me when I use the other one and I start typing and I've just typed 3 letters and none of them have appeared anywhere, so now I've got to do it again. So Raycast is way faster than the built-in one, way faster. You have it showing a different view entirely, and you couldn't get rid of it at one point. There's a different view for this, which is this one, and then it treats it like a window. But why? Why would we do that? Leave it alone. So I will leave that like that, but I can't see me bothering it much longer, because that is just way faster. I'm hoping as I go into it. So let's go into there again. It looks like it remembers the order they are actually used. So if I'm going through something, I tend to, in my tweets, use this one, this down arrow thing. This would be available from up here. And I would just need to go into it and just press enter. And that would, I'll be able to put that in multiple times. The other one that I use is the anchor, and that's for stuff for Ship 30 and Captain Stable. So I'm particularly liking that. Right, Carol's updating. Excellent. Okay, let's get rid of that then. No, we don't want to save it. We don't. Just delete it. Go on. Don't start bothering iCloud. I'm literally sitting here with that. He's done it again. What I see with iCloud, which drives me potty, is there's a dot next to that. So it's that, but it's got like a pie chart on it. And I said to Mike the other day when I fixed it, I said, I've never seen a tick. It just sits there not uploading. But we now have it. Look at that. I have a tick in it. You do have to poke it with a stick every now and then, but it's behaving. It's behaved itself for 24 hours this week, so I was quite impressed. Right, let's get back in here. What we got next? Oh, yes, a freebie. Now, this freebie is to do with AI. So it was a site that I heard about, and I went to have a look. Half of it is free. So what I did was I did a search. So we're looking at lexica.art. Go put it in now. So I put in Samoyed in a spacesuit, because I'm getting quite a fetish with that, aren't I? And I thought that was fantastic. That just looks like Maya. Oh, if only he'd had a spacesuit. And then I put in, that was another one, the spacesuit. And that, the one on the left, Maya's twin. One on the right, Lola. You can definitely tell that the one on the right's a girl and the one on the left's a boy. So yeah, my babies. So lexica.art. Now, when I say half of it's free, where did I put the browser? Where did Vivaldi go? Oh, you're there, aren't you? Of course you are. Right. What I'm going to do is go into my demo workspace. No, not that one. That one. Bring it across. Let's go full with that. This is what it looks like. So you can search for an image. Now notice that at this point I'm searching, not generating. Searching, you will find whatever it is you want. So shall we search for... We'll search for a Samoyed first, and then we'll try others. But I'm searching at this point. Now some of these are better than others. This one is nothing short of deformed. Some of them have got 5 legs and things like that. But some of these are absolutely gorgeous. This one came back, and yet it's supposed to be a 4-legged monster. How dare they refer to our babies like that? But there you go. I mean, this one, bad. Really bad. Now, why these are in here is, if you want to generate one of your own, you have to have an account and pay for it. But people who have done that can choose to make these available. So if I was interested in this one, I can go in and have a look at it. I can open it in the editor, or I can copy it, or I can download the image. So I can actually download it. It's also showing you here, this was what was typed in to generate it. So that was the prompt. And then down here you have 4 different options. So from the same prompt, these other images appeared, and these are available to download as well. Obviously, if you want to generate your own, then it's a paid-for thing. And from memory, it was not cheap. So if I go into the generate... you're not... Surely not. No, there you go. So you need to create an account. And then I got to a page where it was talking about finances. And it was pretty expensive. So you could do 1,000 in a month for $8. $24, which is $4 a month more than Midjourney. Or this thing here, I can't quite understand what's going on there, $48. I think I'm sure when my mum and dad moved in here, the mortgage didn't cost that per month, but there you go. But back to what you can get for free. So the next thing I put in was a tabby cat in Belle's honour. See what it could come up with for that. I just love the style of them. I think they are absolutely beautiful. This one actually looks like Belle with the green eyes. Look at that, and the little furry tufts. But, you know, if you happen to be able to find just what you're looking for, then it's a good way to go. There you go. So they are free. I know which one I was going to type in. These, and some of these did have 5 legs, which was Saluki. So it was the dog breed that Carol's got. Some of them not, but some of them not Salukis. This one's only got 1 ear, poor dog. This one's got legs like a high-rise block. Tell me, Carol, they're not that long, are they? That one, you need a ladder to feed it. Some are better than others, but they did have one running, and there was a logo one. That one, which I thought was quite nice, but they're obsessed with the length of the legs, aren't they? Extremely tall, yes, you're not kidding. And while I'm in here, I can't read the chat, so has Carol replied yet?
No.
But there they are. So if you like that style, that kind of, it's like kind of half cartoony, generated style, isn't it? Oh, look at the ears on that one. And then this one's got a snood on. Then there's a good starting place if you want to use something like that. So completely free, that. I'm liking that. I don't know about generating images with Midjourney or Lexica though, because the price that is, if you think about the $48 one, you can have the whole of the Creative Suite for that. So I think they're pricing themselves out the market at the moment, but that's just me.
Carol says they're not that long.
Thankfully, or we'd all need a ladder. But some of them are really cute. Some of them are really cute on there. This one's bizarre. That looks like a giraffe, doesn't it? That's supposed to be a husky. But it seems to have something here. I mean, it says in an armoured suit. That just looks like 2 extra legs. And they actually look like they belong to a kangaroo. So, quite bizarre. But I did think this one was beautiful. And this one where it looks like a horse. I mean, they do look very equine, don't they? But not quite that equine. But there they all are. This one looks like a judge, doesn't it? With the floppy ears and the thing on the top. And some of them are shocking. I've no idea what this is supposed to be. I did put tiger in, and there were some beautiful tigers that were in there. So I'm literally just putting tiger. One of them, though, let's see if I get that one back again. Let's have a look. Yeah. Looking at this, this one's pretty good tiger. This one's a pretty good tiger. The thing with the tiger is the nose is quite flat, whereas this just looks like a Samoyed that's painted. The nose is all wrong for a tiger. If you compare that one with this one over here, the nose is right on the one on the right, not this one. Definitely not. But the idea, I guess, is that, you might want to... What would happen if a Samoyed bred with a tiger? And I can answer that for you. The tiger wouldn't know what had hit it. But you could do that, and it would at least have a go at it. I wouldn't say what would come out would be accurate, but there you go. Worth a look, I think I would say with that. Worth a look. Right, let's move that over there and get back into here. I've missed another slide. Ah, it's a good job I know I've missed a slide, isn't it? It's misbehaving itself. This won't help you at all, will it, Mike?
I'll change the order.
No, it's fine. I don't like leaving you sat over that while I fix something, but I'm not at all sure. Oh, hang on. Yes, I might have an option. Let's switch you back to there while I add it in. The reason I'm going to add it in, because it should be there to start with, the reason I'm going to add it in is it was on the main slide anyway, and Mike needs it when he runs through to work out what was happening, don't you? So I'll duplicate that one, and you can talk amongst yourselves for 10 seconds while I fix it.
Talky.
Do you know, one day everything will be fine.
Rhubarb.
It could be worse, because last week the machine lost itself, didn't it? Oh, come on, move that up there. Let me put that
Finn's
in
been
there.
to the groomers.
Oh, there you go, pasting it in as plain text. Awesome. So technically speaking, I should be able to do that, and you're not doing a thing, are you? Maybe I have to save it first. I've got my slide now. Even I'm not seeing my slide, so you're definitely not seeing my slide. Come on, PowerPoint. You know you want to. You want to thrill me and make me a happy girl. Or maybe you don't. Can I just point out that would be a really big mistake on your part? Oh, and finally, there you go. So, lost PowerPoint now. Oh, I love this. Not. Come on, let's do that. That's better. Right, I can switch you back now. Awesome sauce. Right, so this was what we were doing. Right, we've covered virtually everything I use in Obsidian, apart from the QuickAdd community plugin, which can do a lot. And I think that's what put me off it to start with. I'm like, I don't know which bit of this to use for what. So what I decided to cover first, we'll cover the rest of it, but I thought we'll cover something that is productive. So we've looked at the Templater plugin. I'm going to refresh you with what that does, and then I will show you one feature of the QuickAdd which will save you a ton of time, hopefully. So let's move into that. This was why Obsidian wasn't even opening for me. This is our demo vault, but I've tidied it up considerably because we don't need all those files at the moment. So just to point out what we've actually got in here, I have parodied, which means I've got my projects, areas, resources and archives. But I also have periodic notes. Now, I think that used to be called daily notes, but they updated the plugin and I've called it the same, which is the periodic notes. So what's in there are the daily notes. And I've added an inbox because I always have an inbox. Now, in the settings, to keep this sidebar, which is my vault or where the files are stored, to keep it tidy, I in here always have my new files, can't remember where on earth that is, but all my new files go into a set folder. And the set folder that they go into, I guess that's under files and links. There we go. All my files go into the inbox folder. Now, I know this is a demo vault, but I do that with mine. And I took a decision that if I had to file everything at the time that I'm using it, I'd probably give it up. So I decided that I would take a kind of semi-roam approach, which is, if it makes logical sense to put a file straight into the location it should be in, then I'll do it. But I don't really want to think about it. So I'm quite happy for it to live in the inbox. So in my vault, I've got about 25, 30 pages in the inbox. And once a week, I file them. But I don't get worried about it. So if something is notes from a Ship 30 session, it will go into the Ship 30 folder. But if it's notes from a random YouTube video I've watched, it will go into unclassified notes. And there are thousands of files in there, and I don't care. Only if, so if we use the example of the YouTube video, if I start to watch 5, 10, 15 videos from the same creator, then I may decide to put them in a folder of their own. But that's very infrequent, because I take the approach that where the file is doesn't matter as long as it's not a complete and utter disaster. So that's my approach to it, and that's why I have all new notes created in the inbox. That's point one. So if we went in and we created something, it would be in the inbox. So in here, create new file. So I click on that, I get my new file, and I get an untitled in here. So I'm just going to close that one, which is a blank tab. Go on, you know you want to close. Go away. If I click you twice and you disappear. Right, so this is, you are, aren't you? No, you're not. Right. Oh, you did. Oh, come on. Right, so there's my untitled file, and it is in the inbox. Now, you also know that I installed the Templater plugin. So in Resources, under Obsidian, I have Templater and Templates and our Pomodoro. The Pomodoro being what popped up over there, if you remember. There we go. It's thinking about it, right? That was a Pomodoro. Okay. So the templater was where we put our templates. I decided I didn't need the templates, which is the core plugin, whereas the templater plugin is a community plugin. And we created a range of templates. Some were intended to be full pages, like this one, and some were just tiny things that you may want to insert into other things. The daily note was the entire daily note, but if you just wanted to put a modification date, you can just insert that into another page. Then there was some notes meta, and then we did that call out that prompted us, and all kinds of magic went on with that. So those are the things that I have in Templater. And here is the issue. So let's imagine that I'm adding into Obsidian the tracking of MacBites After Hours. Right, where would that go? Now, some people would say, oh, well, each episode's a project. That it might be. But I'm usually handling more than one. So I would create an area for it. So just like we have an area for YouTube, I would create an area for MacBites. So first of all, I'd create a folder. And I'd call that one MacBites. Within that, I would separate out the podcast from After Hours and any other content, like MacBites Lives. So within the MacBites folder, I would create another folder, and this one would be MacBites After Hours episodes. Right, so at that point, I think, well, it would be great to have a template that would then have some content in it, so I don't have to keep creating it. So we've got this untitled file. What kind of stuff would I want in there? Well, I'd probably start with a call out at the top. So I would do that by bringing up my templates from Templater. Now I do that with a shortcut key. If you can't remember that, use your command panel and Templater, and it will show you, hang on, where is it? Jump to insert template, that one there. So I just go automatically, and then you have to type more in with that. If you have a shortcut key, go straight to it. And I want this one at the bottom, which was the magic one. Right, I want this to be the meta one. I don't want it automatically expanded or collapsed, so none with that. Simply call it meta, and then I've got some information that I can put in there. So I tend in here to just do that, because I want to see it as I'm putting it in. So I would probably put date. I would probably put URL of the show. I think with it being an After Hours, I'll have a Notion page, so I'll put the Notion URL in it. What else would I put in it? You know, that'll do. But you can put as much in here as you want. That will do for now. And that is what we end up with. One thing I would do is I make these bold. Right. So we'll get those, and they're bold. Right, I may or may not want content down here. So for instance, I may decide that I want a heading 1, which is the week at MacBites headquarters, and then I might want to put some stuff in there, and so forth. So I might decide to do that, might not, depends. But that is my template to create a MacBites After Hours. So I would call this MacBites After Hours. Oh dear. There we go. Oh, come on. I definitely moved you to the end. Hours. Right. At this stage, this is not a template. It's just a page that's in the inbox. So the first half of this is not looking at the QuickAdd yet. What we're looking at is creating a template. So to make this a template, it needs to be in a set location, which is Resources Templater. Now, you could, if you've got this lot showing over here, start opening things up and moving them to it. Or you could do what I do, which is Command, and that is not working in here, is it? Oh, yes, it is. Right, that's Command and M, and that enables me to type in a folder. So I would need to put this in Templater for it to be a template. Once it's in there, I am good to go. So I will close that down. Now, what I need is a new file, and I want to create an after hours. So let's say this is this week's after hours. So I call this MacBites after hours. And we are at 196. And then I use my shortcut key to show me all my templates. And the one I'm looking for is the MacBites after hours. And I press enter and we are good to go. There is only one problem with this. So this is templater. You could use templates for this because it's a very simple template. And we've done it. We've created a page, we've applied the template to it, and we're good to go creating content for after hours. But where's the file? Well, the file is in the inbox. Now, it's not too arduous to move it, is it? I could drag and I could drop it. I don't work with the file browser open, ever. So that's why I have to go in at the end of the week and do it, because I'm not looking at it in the week, and I don't really at this stage want to have to. So normally when I'm working, that's closed. Does that mean I can't put this in the right place? No, of course I can, because I can see at the top where it already is. It's in the inbox. So if I do my Command and M to move it, and I start typing in MacBites after hours, it even comes up in here with the right folder. And all I need to do is that, and that moves it. Thing is, I've got to remember to do it. I mean, it's not that difficult, but I've got to remember to do it. Okay, that is what we've got at the moment. We would like it a little bit more automated. And that is where QuickAdd comes in. So I need to go into my preferences, and it's a community plugin, and I don't have it installed already. So if you need to turn off restricted mode to get to the community plugins, you do that at the top. If you have already done that, you can just hit browse and you can type in there, QuickAdd, and this is it. So you've got all the blurb. Now this is where it explains to you that there is 4 tools in one plugin here. And the tools are called choices. So you have templates, you have captures, you have macros, and you have multis. And it even explains what each of them are. All right. I'm only going to be showing one because I don't want to confuse the entire issue, and this can get really complicated fast. But there is a guide if you want to watch the guide. But what I'm going to do is fairly straightforward. I'm going to install it first, so it's installing it. The next thing is to enable it. These are the release notes for it, which by default it will show you so you can see what features have been added. And I'm going to go into the options. Right, so what I've actually got up here is to manage the macros and some other settings. Now I can put in at this level the templates folder. And my templates folder, this worked really weird to me. It shows you the top level first and then the next level down. So I know it's going to be in 3 and I know it's going to be in Obsidian, but I might need to go even further with that, which means I've got to get to the other side of that. So let's take it up there. I think that's the folder, but I'm not sure. So I've got to go and check. I could do with that being wider. But yeah, what I'm doing with that is telling the plugin globally that that's where the templates are. Now, that's a time saver, but QuickAdd does have the flexibility of not requiring the files to be in that location. You could specify this on a 1-by-1 basis. Right, so in here, I reckon at this stage I need to see what was on my diagram. Right, so what I want here, this says template. This is the 4 options. So template, capture, macro, multi. We're going for template. Right, so I want to add one of these. So we're going to do a MacBites after hours. So MacBites after hours. In fact, it's probably better in here to actually put in what it is. So if I say this is a template, in fact, I'm not sure if I need to put the word template or not. Let's say new MacBites after hours. And I'm going to add that, and that adds it up here. This is where you configure it. So step 1, you need to create it. Step 2, go into the cog. Right, now it's asking for the template path. So I could technically leave that, or I could go in and I could put it in again. And you'll notice in here that because I specified it at the top level, it's taken me to it and it's actually showing me the after hours file, which is great. So what I do in there to make sure is move over here and I can see it's MacBites After Hours and it's templater. Okay. Right, next thing, the file name format. So you can do more with this than you could do with the templater. With the templater, I created a page, I injected the template into it. This is going to do much more. So first of all, do I want to set the file name format? Yes, I do. So I'll turn it on and then I'll specify in there what that should look like. Because this is not only going to inject a template into a file, it's going to name that file for you. And this is where you specify what that should look like. So, MacBites After Hours, and I need a number after it. So I'm just going to put that to remind me to change that to whatever it is. I could use a date, but it's going to take the date it's created, and I don't want to fiddle around with that. So that'll do nicely. Right, the next option is to automatically have this placed in a specific folder. Not just, oh, stick it in the inbox, a specific folder. So I'm going to say yes to that. And that opens up the option to specify which folder. Now we know, all the way down here, oh no, it wasn't that far down, was it? It was in Areas MacBites. So we have some stuff in here. These are the archives. But we should have, if we can get past the periodic notes, of which there's quite a few, there's the MacBites folder, and there is the After Hours folder, and that's where we want it. So specify that in there. Right, what do I want to happen here? If a file already exists with the same name, I want you to increment the file name. There are a few options you've got. You certainly don't want to overwrite. What I would do is just add a number to it. But technically that's a fallback. That should never happen. Okay, and that's it. That's all we need to do. So I will... Now, one thing to think about, I've specified it in here. That's the right folder, but I do need to click Add, which is easy to miss. If you don't click Add, it ignores it. So you do need to click Add on that bit there. And then we're good to go. So close that down in there, close it down in there. This is our new workflow. So I'm going to open this so you can see it. Right, you can see magic happening. Right, that's the last one that we moved in there. But what we're doing now is we're going to create next week's. Now, I do this with shortcut keys. And to do that, I'd need to create one. So in my hotkeys in here, I want in there to open the quick switcher, which it's saying is that, which I don't think it is. Run QuickAdd, I think that's the one. Right, so my shortcut key in here is Option and Q. Bit of a dangerous one because obviously it's near Command and Q, but quick, Q for quick. So that's the shortcut key for it. Right, so I have no file open at all. I am not going through the process of creating a new file, renaming that file, and then moving that file and injecting the template into that file. We want to do it much faster, and that's what QuickAdd allows us to do. So using the shortcut key, it brings up this entry page, and it's a new MacBites After Hours. So I'm just going to say yes to that. If I had more, there would be more in there, but we've only got one at the moment. And it automatically creates it in here, and it's got RXXX at the end. So we can click on there. We can go into that and rename it as 197. We can then put the date in there and the URL in there and all kinds of stuff. So I can put the URL in because I have that coming from Typinator, right? Now, that's not bad as far as it goes, but we can get even better than that. So I am going to close that one. And I'm going to go back into the preferences. if we do one thing, we can make it even better. So in here, our QuickAdd, where have you disappeared to? Right, in this macro that we've created, go back into it and change one thing, which is this at the bottom. Open it. Don't just create it, open it. So turn that on. You can specify whether it's in source view, preview view, or just use the default. So default's fine for me. And come out of that. So now we're going to create the one for the following week. So Option and Q, enter, and it opens it up and I can start working. And I only need to go into there and type the number and I'm good to go. So in essence, it's kind of supercharging the templater plugin. It is doing multiple things. It is creating the file, but it's doing it in the right location, the location you specified for that file type. It's creating the page, it's opening the page, it's applying the template to the page, and then you can just start working. Now, I do this for after hours, and if I find myself creating something on a regular basis, I do the same. So just to show you how fast this can be, we've done that once. Do we have any questions before I show it again related to that?
No.
Okay.
No questions.
So we'll do it again with something entirely different that I do, which is the church newsletter on a weekly basis. So in my areas, I would have this, I create a folder. In fact, I think I put this straight into archives, but never mind. Right, so called Our Parishes, that's my folder. Right, I don't have a template for this at the moment, but I'll create one. So all I'm doing is creating a new file. So, Our Parishes newsletter. And what is actually in here is the opening of a mail. So Kathy's a parish secretary, and it says something like Microsoft Publisher and PDF formats both attached, no outstanding issues. Right, then I usually type something. We usually have a bit of a conversation and a giggle. And then I'd probably put something like, take care and have a great weekend. And I send that every week. Obviously, I change this bit, but the rest of it, that's it. Unless there is an outstanding issue where we had, we have a retired priest who writes a piece for it every week and it was missing. So unless there's something like that, that's what it looks like every week. So that is my template. So that needs to be moved to the templater folder. That makes it a template. And I could automate that if I wanted to. But we have created the template. Now, whenever we use it, we want it to create that inside the Our Parishes folder. Once you've created one of these, it makes creating the others even easier. So what I do in here is click that to duplicate it. And it now says that it's a copy of it. So I'm going to the cog, and I don't want the template path. Remember that the template path is not just the path, it's actually the template as well. And I don't want this to be the after hours one. So I want to lose that up there, but look down here and should find an Our Parishes. So if I type that in, do you come up? You do. There we go. So I'm just choosing that. Up here, I am going to change that to new, and I tend to put OP, newsletter. Right, and OK. Right, the name is different again because this is predictable. This is predictable. I know with this that I want it dated when I'm writing it. So this makes it way easier. I actually call these Kathy, as in name of parish secretary, and then I put the date. And the date would be today's date. But this is easier. I don't have to type it. I'm putting in round brackets, that's curly brackets. And as soon as I start doing that, notice it gives me a list. Oh, wow. Right, it's the first one that I want, just date. But I want to specify the format, and I would much prefer it if this was sortable. So I use this as a sort date. 4 Ys for the year, and 2 Ms for the month, and 2 Ds for the date. And that is the format that I want the name to have. So that is absolutely perfect. Right, create it in a folder. Yes, but not the MacBites one. That wouldn't be good. So take that away and go back into here. And I think it was called Our Parishes, wasn't it? So areas, Our Parishes. Make sure we select that. Don't forget to hit add. Easily done. And that's it. As soon as I've created it, I want it to be opened. That is it. So now when I go into here and I do my option and queue, I've got MacBites After Hours, or I've got an Our Parishes newsletter, and we'll go for an Our Parishes newsletter. And there we are. If I open up this folder, that's where it is, and I never have to worry about it again. It's genius. This was the first thing that I did with it. I thought Obsidian was amazing, and it's nice to write in. So I figured it would be a good place to write this email. I never write the email in Gmail. I write the email separate. But I'd been doing it in Ulysses, and we had a falling out, didn't we, because it was trying to synchronise with iCloud. And notice the trying in there. So I decided I would move it to Obsidian, and it works great. It's absolutely perfect. It takes 2 seconds. And on the daily page, so today is Friday, I did it yesterday, but there's today. So imagine this is our daily page. So we actually put the daily note thing in it as well. I will go in here and I will put a timed entry, which I don't have in here. But in my own, I have a timed entry. So if we were to put in there what the current time is, that would be a heading 2. And on this one, which would be a heading 3, I would say Our Parishes newsletter. So this is automatically generating backlinks because I go in here and I put my square brackets in, and notice I don't even have to search for it. That page is there because it's recently been accessed. I do that and we're good to go. Carry on. So if she says to me, in fact, I did get a mail today, something about the email being broken, not to worry about it. I thought, I've no idea what you're talking about. But if there was a query about it, then I would just instantly go to whatever date it was, and I would click on that and it would open this up. I could know exactly what I'd sent if it had gone awry. So that is something that I do every week with it. I'm extending it at the moment because I decided with Obsidian I was not going to go in and spend 6 months building a system. I was just going to go in and use it and build the system as I went, on the basis this is something I'm doing frequently, so I'm going to go in, I'm going to do that. And that is what I did with it. So that is one thing, and it's only one thing, that the QuickAdd plugin does. But working with templates, it can do more than the templates can do. So the two working together make your workflow much faster. So do we have any questions on that?
No.
Is everybody asleep waiting for you? Right, let's go in there so I can see it. Right, okay then. So back into the misbehaving presentation. There we are, and we are over to you, Mike.
Is it me now?
Yeah, well, it would be if my slides were moving. I think I've upset PowerPoint immensely. There we go. There we go. So tell me when you're ready. Oh, aren't you quick off the ball? Right, switch to that. Over you go. You're live.
Okay, I'm going to create a fairly basic data entry form. So let me show you the data that I'm working with. And what I'm working with here is just some made up sales data. This is the completed version of the form. So this is what we are aiming for. So I've got a drop down here, which allows me to choose a flavor. I've got a drop down here, which allows me to choose a store. I've got a little scroll bar going across here. So I can actually type the quantity in, or I can just use this scroll bar to select. And the order value should be coming from, it's showing up an error at the moment. That's because on the notes page over here, I've got missing data because I took some bits away so that I can show you stuff during this demo. But basically the idea is that I want to show you how simple it is to create a fairly basic data with drop downs, with scroll bars, with checkboxes, with what look like boxes, but actually they're just cells with borders and buttons. So what I've done, rather than starting totally from scratch, I've partly built one. So this started life as a blank sheet. I've just put in a text box there, which I showed you how to do last week on the dashboard. Just change the colour to green, put some text in. I've put my headings down here, and as I said, these boxes, it's just cells. It's just cells with a border. I've just done an outside border. I've also got this note sheet here. So that is going to act as a lookup table to grab the price based on the flavour. That there, the stores, the flavours there, column A, is being used to generate the drop down for the flavours. Column D is being used to generate the stores, the drop down list for the stores. And then these, I will explain what these are and what they do as we go along. But that's the, obviously apart from the completed form, just there to show you what we're aiming for. This really is the preparation work. As I did last week, I talked about the preparation work that you need to do before you actually build your dashboard. So the same thing is true when you build a form. You obviously need somewhere to store the data that the form is collecting, and typically you'd create, you don't have to call it notes, you could call it Scratchpad or something like that, but you'll need any drop down list that you create, and I've got 2 drop down lists. You're going to have to create a column of items to populate that list, and you'll probably need lookups and stuff like that. Obviously every form is different, so let me start. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a drop down for the flavour, and as I said, it's going to populate from these cells here. You need the developer tab visible. If the developer tab isn't visible, go to Excel, go to preferences, go to where's the ribbon and toolbar, and just put a tick in developer there. So once the developer tab is visible, it's these things, these controls we're looking at here. So I'm going to create a combo box, and you'll notice now because I click combo box, the mouse pointer's become a little cross. I'm just going to click somewhere and it creates me a combo box. It's obviously the wrong size, so I'm just going to size it. The great thing about this is that the combo box and some of the other controls don't have to sit inside a cell. They're like charts. They sit on a separate layer. But what I'm going to do, because I've created this border, I'm actually going to make the text, the combo box, the same size as the cell. There we go. So there's our combo box. It doesn't actually do anything, and that's because I need to wire it up. So if I right click on the combo box and go to format control, the input range is this list here. So I'm just picking those cells there. I've deliberately put those in alphabetical order, and then click on OK. And now I've got a drop down list, and as I choose a drop down list, it puts the item I select not into the cell. That's the important thing. It's not actually putting it anywhere, it's just displaying it in the drop down. So ultimately I want to be able to take the selected value and put it as the next blank row and put that item in here. Now unfortunately we can't just take the value of the or the contents of the drop down. So this is what we have to do with the drop down. Right click and back to format control. We have to set up a cell link. So the cell link is going to go, if I go to the note sheet, scratchpad sheet, to go in H2 and then, sorry, H1, and then click on OK. So now when I select banana and we go to the note sheet, it's put a 1 in there. If I select chocolate, it should put a 3 in there, and so on. In other words, the cell link is putting a value in, and it's the value is the item number. So it's not putting banana in there, it's not putting chocolate in there, it's actually putting a number, and the number is the position. So if I went for toffee, which is the 3, it's the 6th one, it's going to put a 6 in there. It would be nice if it actually put the value in, but it doesn't work like that. So what I need to do is I need to basically create a lookup which will look up the value by looking at that number. So it's not going to be a lookup, it's actually going to be an index, because an index function will return a value from a list based on the position. Equals index, open brackets. I'm going to select that as the array, comma. The row number is going to be whatever's in H1, because I want it to pick up the number and I want to say, okay, it's the 6th item, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go, 6th item, and it's always going to be column 1. Close the brackets and enter. So just to go through the link again as to how it's working, if I choose chocolate, because chocolate is the 3rd item in this list, what it's doing is it's putting a 3 into that cell. Why it's picked that cell is because I defined H1 as the link cell on this drop down. And the reason it's putting chocolate in there is because of the formula. So the formula is saying in the range A2 to A8, I want you to pick up the contents of the cell that is 3 rows down and 1 column in. Well, it's a single column array, it's only 1 column, so it's always going to be from that column there. But the row number is going to be determined by what's in H1. So the 3rd row is chocolate. If I go and change that to lemon, it's going to put a 4 in there and it's going to pick lemon from there. So as long as that list is being used to populate this combo box, everything is going to tie up. So that's why I did that, and that's why I did that. I need somewhere to store the value from that combo box, and I need somewhere to store the actual result, as it were, which is going to ultimately get copied across to here. So that's one way of doing a combo box, but I'm going to show you another way of doing a combo box. A combo box just being a drop down arrow. So the other way of doing it is to do it as a data validation. So I'll do this for the store. So I'll go to B9, and what I want in B9 is a drop down list of the stores. Well, instead of doing it the way I've just done it, I'm going to go to data, I'm going to go to data validation, I'm going to set allow to list, and I'm going to set the source to be the list of stores, and click on OK. So now I get a drop down list, and it puts the actual value in the cell. So when I have my little button, which is going to take the data from this sheet here and dump it in the next blank row on the orders, I can actually take it from B9, because B9 is actually storing a value. So the difference between the data validation drop down and the original drop down, which was off the developer tab and a combo box, is that you have to do some extra work behind the scenes because it's not actually storing that value in B7. So you have to connect this combo box to a cell, and then you have to pick up a value based on that number from somewhere and put it in there. So there is some extra work with the, I call this the old style combo box, because these have been around for years, these things here, whereas data validation hasn't been around as long. The only downside of the data validation is you've got a tiny little drop down, and the actual list isn't as big. So aesthetically, you haven't got consistency. Okay, so that's the drop down. The next thing I'll do is the quantity. So let's say the customer wanted to buy 10 containers of lemon ice cream. You could actually type the 10 in there. There we go. You could actually type the 10 in there, but I wanted to allow the user to select from I was going to say slicer, scroll bar. So I'll click on the scroll bar, click where I want it. I can always realign it and resize it once I've got it where I want it. And then right click and format control. And what I want here is I want to say the minimum is 10 and the maximum is 30, because I've decided that the minimum order is 10 and customers can buy no more than 30 tubs of ice cream. Bit like Tesco, where they'll only allow me to buy, what is it, a maximum of 3.
Not enough.
Not enough, 3 bottles of water. So we're going to set a maximum on here. The incremental change I'll leave as 1. The page change I'll leave as 10. I'll show you what those do in a minute. And the cell link, that is... No, I don't want to link it on the note sheet. I want to link it on the actual import form, and I want to link it to that cell there. So the idea is that as we scroll across left to right, it's going to put a value in there. Okay, so I'll delete that, but I will actually use the scroll bar. So you can see I can go up to 30. I can go no lower than 10. So I can use the scroll bar, and as I click the little arrow, it is incrementing in 1, whereas if I click in the middle, it's incrementing in 10s. So that's what the increment and the page was doing. The order value, I've got a formula already in there, which is doing a lookup. So what that is doing is that is multiplying the quantity by the price of the actual flavor selected. So if we look here, we've got a different flavor for different price for each flavor. So the lookup formula is grabbing the price and then multiplying that by the quantity. New customer discount. For that one, I'm going to do a checkbox. So I'll just, on the developer tab, click on checkbox, click where I want the checkbox, line it up as I did before, and delete out the actual text. So I've got just a text box on its own. The heading is there. If I then right click on the text box and go to format control, again I can choose, do I want it to be unticked by default or do I want it to be ticked by default? I'll have it unticked, and the cell link is going to be on the note sheet, and it's going to be over here. So what it will do is it will put in true or false depending on whether that is ticked or not. Now ultimately what I want it to do is I want it to put either true or false in there. If I wanted it to put yes or no in there, then I'd need to have another formula in here which says something like, if that cell equals true, then put yes, otherwise put no. So it's going to put, I've got the, hang on a minute. Does that need to be capitals? Or maybe it does need quotes around it. Yeah, that's better. It does need quotes around it, because although it looks like that is text, it's not. It's actually the result of a checkbox. So behind the scenes, there's a numeric value, hence not needing quotes around that. But if that says true, then it's set to yes. If that's not ticked, then it sets that to false and it sets that to no. And that can be the value that is ultimately sent back to here. Finally, I need a button. So I'm going to click on the button tool there, click where I want it. Let's do that again. For some, there we go. It comes up. I'm just going to delete that because it's a bit of a strange one, this. Click on the button, click where you want it, and it automatically assumes you want to assign a macro to the button, which we do, but not just yet. So I'm going to cancel that. And then line the button up, and then choose the whatever text I want. So something like submit order. The problem with this is you are very limited as to the colors and things you can set. So rather than using the button on the developer tab, what I'm going to do is, if I can get rid of that, right click cut. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use one of the shapes, because you've got a lot better options. So let's just choose a shape, choose a rectangle, draw it out, position it where you want it, change the color, put some text in there, something like submit order, and you've got all the alignment options. You could give it an effect, like a 3D effect, which I showed you last week with the dashboard. And then you can write your macro. I'm not going to write the macro, it's just some VBA code, which is just going to tell it to take the appropriate items from the appropriate cells, go to the order sheet, go to the next blank row, and then put the data in to the appropriate boxes. But all you need to do there is right click on this button and select assign macro. Once you've written your code, you can just assign the macro, and that's it. So a nice, relatively simple, sometimes, often simple is best, a nice simple form to allow a user to input some data and then have it going automatically on the click of a button onto the next blank row. So there we go. Richard uses shapes to make buttons as well. Yeah, I always used to do it with the button tool, and then once I realized that you could do it with shapes, and you get much more options when it comes to formatting, and you can use any of these shapes. So if you wanted a smiley face as your submit button, or a love heart, or anything like that, go for it. All right, do we have any other questions?
Looks like that's it.
Okay, I will hand back to you then.
Okay, right. Biggest news of the week, I think. But that depends if you've actually seen it. Is Adobe announced on Tuesday they were bringing the tools from Firefly that we looked at a couple of weeks back and putting them into Photoshop. So if you recall, the tools that we were talking about here were mainly generative tools. So Firefly is available on the web, and we looked at 3 tools that it had. So those are the features that they will be bringing to Photoshop by the end of the year, which probably means around the time of Adobe Max, which is usually October, November time. But the bigger news than that was that these features are available in the beta version of Photoshop today. First question there was, how do I get that then? So, how you get that, if you have Creative Cloud, So obviously there is a subscription involved here, but as we've discussed, you can have just Photoshop for £9.99 a month. Right, what you would need to do is in your Creative Cloud app, there is an option to look at beta apps on the left-hand side where the big arrow is. Once you've clicked that, it will load in all of the beta apps that you have access to. I was unaware I had that many apps that I had access to, but obviously the most important one at this stage was the Photoshop beta. Now, it could be that you click on the beta option on the left and you don't see that you have Photoshop. Mine had already updated, but if yours hadn't, you should see an update button. There's also updates here, so make sure that you've updated everything you possibly can. If that fails, there is the all-time old trick of logging out, logging back in again. They are rolling it out in batches, but I would suspect pretty much everybody has access to it as long as Creative Cloud has updated and is aware of its existence. So log out, log back in. I remember they brought out a full version of Photoshop, and I did not have access to it. I was peeved. And eventually somebody on Twitter said, neither did I, logged out, logged back in, it was there. So I logged out, logged back in, it was there. So that's the trick. Once you do that, it doesn't overwrite your existing version of Photoshop. It adds another one with an icon that looks remarkably like the iWork icons. Do you remember those awful ones? Yeah. But this indicates that this is the beta. It's actually called Strawberry Letter. So that's the splash screen you get when you run it. The first time that you run it, it informs you that one of the features in it is the generative AI. And you've got to agree to it. So there are user guidelines if you want to sit and read them. Pretty much from what I can see, it's to do with commercial use, and there's also an issue to do with inappropriate images, which I've fallen foul of trying to put a hat on somebody. Don't ask, it's complicated, but you do need to agree to that before you can actually move on. Once you have done that, you will have Photoshop Beta and access to the generative AI tools. So, what have we got on here? Simon's thinking that he knows where this is going. Well, it was a girl, I'll grant you, but I have seen others do far more dodgy things than I was attempting to do, and it didn't like it. Right, so this is the Photoshop interface. You can see in the top left-hand corner that is the beta version. So, in essence, when you go in, the biggest difference you're going to see is that you have got this toolbar flying around. And it's an interactive toolbar. Its options change depending on what you are doing with the image. So if you have a bit selected of the image, it will do one thing. If you do something else, the options in this bar will be different. So just to warn you beforehand, this is also reminiscent of ChatGPT at the height of people trying to sign up. The first day, it was absolutely fine. So that was Tuesday. Wednesday, it was fine. Last night, when I'm trying to show Mike, I got the "it's busy" error. So because of that, I have gone through all of the data. I will be attempting to show you live. But if it won't have it, I do have all of this already done. But we will attempt to do it live. So the first one I'm opening is a fairly basic image with lots of space on it. I'll show you the generative tools based on that image. So what we have in here, it started life as a JPEG, which is this background layer at the bottom. But I have done this 3 times. So I have 3 generative layers that I can share with you, but I'm going to try and do it live. This is the bar that I'm talking about. So if I select the background layer, you can see this changes, whereas if I select a generative layer, you have different options. But we're pretending that the generative layers aren't there. The only reason they are there, and that I am not starting from a JPEG, is if the service is busy, I will be able to take you through it and show you what to do. But if the service is actually busy and won't do it, then I can just turn on the layers that I did earlier. Are we all with that and happy with that? Because I wouldn't want you to miss some of the amazing things it did. Right, so you can do 4 things with the generative tools. You can generate objects. So this, as you can see, is a vast wasteland. It could do with something, couldn't it? In terms of a point of interest. So you can generate objects. You can generate backgrounds. You can extend images, and you can remove objects. So with this one, what I really want is to add something to it. So the first thing I need to do to be able to do that is to make a selection on this image of something that I want to put on it. So what I did, I selected the marquee tool and literally just drew this out as a square. I don't have to, if I want a Christmas tree, I don't really have to make the selection a Christmas tree shape. I could do, might be better if I did. But with this, I just did that. Right, the next option is the generative fill. So this context-aware toolbar is giving you options. So because I've got an area selected, it's saying generative fill. So I'm clicking on that before we go any further. Then it changes and it allows me to describe what I would like. Now, you may be thinking, I don't want to describe anything. Well, you don't actually have to, but with this image, there's nothing there. So it can't look around the rest of the image and make an assumption as to what you want. I am going to actually have to tell this what I want. And what I want is an Arctic research station with a helicopter on the roof. Now, there is fun and games to be had with this. Some of them, the results, are way better than others, for which read, some have 16 legs. So we'll have a look what we get, but I do have 12, I think, that I've already done. But we'll see what it gives us, if it is going to give us anything. But notice at this point, all I've done, because I said this to you, didn't I? You could do this, because even Mike can make a rectangular selection. Anything more intricate than that, no, but he could make a rectangular selection. So the beauty of this is, note how few of the Photoshop tools I'm going to touch. So things like the brushes and the stamp and the repair, forget it, not touching any of them all night. All I'm using is the select options, and the rest happens with the generative AI. So at this point, I've told it what I'd like. I then click generate and it goes away and has a think about it. It usually gets almost to the end and then seems to stop and have a rare old think about it and then carry on. It is sending information out of your request to the internet, back to Adobe, so it can generate what you've requested. If it gets very close to the end and then chokes, then that's when you see the message about it being busy. But it's not busy at the moment. So, research station, not bad. Not exactly realistic, though. Luckily, when you do this, you get 3 options, 3 variations. So this properties panel that we have over here is where all the magic happens. So once you've generated it, it's this properties panel that you will work through to regenerate it, tweak it, provide feedback, alter the prompt, all those good kind of things. So the variations, this is the first one. We have another variation, looks like it's got 2 helicopters, this one. Not bad. Oh, and a ski mobile. Didn't ask for that, but there you go. This one is one of the rough ones, and I've seen this before, which is just a helicopter. I look at this and think, where's the research station? But that one's, oh, there is a research station, it's over there. So if you wanted to focus on it, you could. But the variation should show you that it's different every time. So when I did it, one of the first ones I got, I thought, oh, that's perfect. But I carried on doing it. Now, if I'm not happy with any of those, if I'm really not happy, if some of them are like appalling, you can provide feedback from here. So you get your 3 dots, you can delete it if it's that bad. You can also say it's a good result or it's a poor result. Or if it's inappropriate, you can report the result. It's worth providing feedback to them because that's the only way this thing is going to improve. But that one's not actually as bad as it looked. So that one's not too bad. Without changing the prompt, I'm going to regenerate that. Now, that won't delete the 3 variations I've already got. It will generate 3 more for me. So if you're providing services to a client and they happen to want a helicopter over a research station, you could provide 6 alternatives to them. And it's only going to take a matter of seconds, as long as the service isn't busy. It was busy, was it about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock? And I said it was early morning in the States, and that could have been why. So now we've got a completely different one. I have no idea where the helicopter is. That looks like an aerial, but never mind. Working through the options that I've got. So this one looks like it's black, and the third one looks like it's red. So as I'm clicking on these, it's applying it to the actual image so we can see it. So there is a helicopter on the roof. Bit dicey, but never mind. And let's try the last one. Boris Johnson. I did actually try and get it to do recreate a MacBites poster, and it doesn't seem to want anybody's name in it at all. It says it's inappropriate, goes against the terms of use. So those are the 6 it's generated this time. I've asked it to do. But I can toggle those off, so we go back to the background, and we can actually have a look at the others that it did when I was in rehearsal mode. So if I turn that one on, you can see we've got a research station and we've got 2 helicopters. If I select the layer, which I need to do for the properties panel to update, then you can see I've got 6 variations in there as well. So if each of these 4 layers had 6 variations, you've got a whole range to go at. And some of them were great. Some of them didn't have a helicopter in. That one looks a bit Russian, doesn't it? A bit James Bondish, that one. I've no idea what this thing is here, so we'll ignore that. But you can see that the different range of options that I got with this. If you wanted one that was much taller, then you would need to make a selection that was taller so it could fit that in. But the research station looks great on that.
Question from Patience.
Okay.
Could you generate the images separately?
Yes, you could. So what I would do with this if I was actually doing it is do the research station first and then the helicopter. And that way I can tell it precisely where I want the helicopter. So I'm just showing you these as an example. This was just an example that I worked through. So that one you can see again, that one looks very dark, doesn't look like it fits as well. One had snow on the roof, which again I think I asked for in one of them. Yeah, that one's got snow on the roof, and the helicopter, well, one looks like it's crashed and burnt already. So yes, I think it would be better if you did it separate, but I wanted to see what it was capable of. I know you could do this yourself if you've got enough skill. Mike does not have enough skill. So if he just wanted something, then he could just type it in. That's the whole point. You could just type it in. Right, Richard, I wonder how long before Affinity add AI. That's a bit of an issue because AI has an ongoing cost and their applications don't have an ongoing cost. It could be that is what they leverage to create a pro-level subscription, which is exactly what Raycast did. But there is an ongoing cost for all of these requests. Now, whether that means that the subscription to Creative Cloud would go up, I don't know. But it could well. So that's generating content. So what I'll do with that is I'm going to toggle it off and just save the file, because I don't want to have to go through all of these files again and toggle that off. So let's get rid of that one and go on to the next one. Right, I know you're saving it and I know you'll deal with it. Right, so next one. Gone back too much. Let's come to the next one. Right, so next one. That was adding stuff to it. So why are you not closing this? Right, okay. Where's the original? And where am I going with this? I'm going to open the original with this one and hope it works. I do have 4 different variants of it. So what I'm doing with this one is I am opening up an image that is just a JPEG. So we'll be trying to get this to do wonderful things with just a JPEG. Right, so with this one, I want to get rid of these people. And I would like something else on here and various things. But I want to get rid of these people. So the better the selection, the better the removal is. So let's try and get into there. No, don't just scoot down there. Zoom in. Right, there we go. So I tried it by just drawing around them, and I actually had much better luck using the and going quite close. Come on. Yes, yes, yes. Come on, let's have a think about it. Right, let's start again. No, no, no. This was my other fear with this, that it would start going really slow. The machine's going absolutely crazy. Despite the fact it's got the fan and I don't. Right, come on. Right. Let's start drawing around it. So quite close, but enough that it knows what I don't want. And it would be grand if I could actually see this, because that's slipping and sliding all over the place. Hopefully, when I've done it, I will be able to see it all and make some adjustments if that's what I want. So when I say quite close, I mean leave in the bits that you want, so it's 100% sure what you don't want. Like that. So I've let go. It's carrying on. And I need to make some changes at the top. But all you're doing here is using any selection tools that you want. So these up here, if I wanted to remove that, I'm holding down the Option key and I'm taking that bit away. So it's still important that you use your tools, that you know what the tools are for. Oh dear, oh dear. It's like in slow motion, but there we go. Right, so I've got a selection. So at this point, I'm going to do exactly what I did last time, but we don't want an Arctic station. But with this, I'm going to say Generative Fill. Do I have to tell it what I want? No, because what it will do if I don't tell it anything is it will look around itself and it will make an assumption that I want to fill what I've selected with something appropriate from around the edges. So I'm not going to tell it what to generate. Okay. So click that, it will have a think about it. It's looking around and hopefully it'll make a reasonable job. I'm going to try and jump out so we can see the whole image. It didn't do a bad job yesterday, and I do have half a dozen versions of this to open. So fingers crossed. Go on, you know you want to. Go on. There we go. So we've got the reflections looking correct. So let's try and zoom out a bit. There we go. Perfect. But that image, as it is, it made sense when the people were in it to be portrait. It would actually be better if it was landscape, you know, because it's a landscape. And you can do that as well. So we've seen we can generate objects. With that, we basically put it on top of what was already there. With this, we need to generate something that doesn't exist. And that is a three-step process. And it's the same three-step process no matter what you do. We've got different examples and the three-step process is the same. So I'm using the crop tool. And what I'm going to do with the crop tool is not crop it, I'm going to make it bigger. I'm going to take this out over here. So we'll take it out to about there. And that it extends the canvas, but there's nothing on it. Oh, dear me, it's got a mind of its own. Right, so as soon as I've done that, that's it. That's all I need to do. I've extended the canvas. The next step. Select tool, in this case, the rectangular marquee tool, because it is a rectangular selection that I've added. And all I'm going to do with that is make sure that all of that is selected. So get the marching ants around it. And again, I need to generate the fill. So just extend it, generate it. Do I need to tell it what? That depends on what you want over there. If you wanted, you know, a helicopter landing on the roof of a building, then you're going to have to tell it that. But if you want it to generate something that's appropriate with the rest of the image, then you just need to hit generate and it will generate it. It's going to put a Greg's there. Well, if I asked it to put a Greg's there, it might, you know. It might. And it is Greg's because there was a video doing the rounds a couple of weeks back of an American who came over and was saying there's this shop and that shop. And they called it GR Eggs, which I thought was fantastic. Right, so it's extended it. There's one issue with that as I'm moving it, which is I see a slight line here. But we've also got 3 options. While we're looking at that and thinking that's not bad, I could deal with that, don't forget that you've got 3 variations of what you've filled it with. So we'll load the second one and then we'll have a look at the third. So the second one's got more of a problem in terms of the join. You can actually see the join. You can fix that, or you can choose one of the others. And that one's actually quite different in terms of what's up here. Very different. So I would say is probably the first one with that one. Now, because there's a bit of an issue, well, it's not actually that bad, but just in case it did look like a join, when I did this before, I had an issue with the sky, and I can fix it. So all I did to fix it was add a layer above the one that it has generated, and I went in with the spot healing brush. Which, unlike, well, I think it's black when you paint it on. It looks scary. It looks scary. So let's just grab that, go down there, and that bit. And it should repair it. I think yesterday I did one part 3 times, but that looks absolutely perfect. Can't tell the join. And you keep on doing that. So once you've got something there for it to work with, I go get the crop tool again and move it over here. So I've got some space, make that bigger. Come on, grab, make that bigger. Again, I'm going to have that white bit. That's almighty big, isn't it? But it'll do. Right, grab my marquee tool again. Why not use the sky replacement? Because I'm not replacing the sky. I'm actually expanding this. This is adding anything and everything it needs. So it's adding the lake, it's adding this, it's adding rocks, it's adding the sky. I don't want to replace the sky, I just want to extend it. So the image is not portrait, it's landscape. And again, generative fill. This one might take a bit longer because it's a bit wider, but we'll see how it goes. So let's generate that. Go on, I have clicked you. Are you thinking about it, or do you need clicking 17 times? Is there a lesser seam if you make the selection bigger? I'm not sure about making the selection bigger. They actually said that all you needed to do was select the white area that you'd added, that you didn't need any kind of overlap. So there's potential that because I've added more, but there's no join on that one. So trial and error, trial and error. It's also random every time you do it. So let's see the entire image there. And we can take that and do a comparison. Now with this, in terms of why not the sky replacement, because we've added all of these mountains in the mountain range, and you've even got the reflection of them at the bottom in the water. And if we wanted to go back to what we started with, we had a tiny image. I know. Come on. Don't play around. You can usually swipe up and down that, but the machine is very hot. So what I will do, can I turn them all off if they're all selected? No. Now Affinity does that. Oh, come on. Right, I can group them though. Oh, there's a potential that I can group them. So, start was that. What we ended up with was that. And what I would probably do with this is go in and then start applying changing the tone of it slightly. So first of all, I'd add levels and then curves, and then I'd work up from there. But I will put some levels on it because there isn't much in the way of full black on that. But we'll take it in a little bit and see how it is. Right, take it in from both sides. No, we won't. We need more black in that. Let's take that in there. Take that back. And then I would put some curves on it. I would also add a vignette at the corners as well, but it's not about this. It's what it can do itself that's important, which is what it's actually generated. So if you were there, it might not be what you saw, but that looks better, doesn't it? Bring some drama into it and some black, although probably not quite that much. If you did need it, that is what you can do. You can then take that and you can start saying add a boat to it and all the rest of it. But I want to show different images rather than just sit with one image all the time. So I will save that. That was a JPEG, so that's not me saving it as anything else other than Photoshop now. Now it's got these extra layers in it. Oh, Renee needs Photoshop.
I was going to just say, never thought I'd see the day.
Once you've seen what this can do, this is nothing. What I'm showing you now, this is the basics. This is nothing. Right, it seems to be struggling to save that one. It is thinking about saving it, but it's struggling saving it. And I think I've closed down absolutely everything. So they're the hikers. So we'll put the hikers in if we go in here. Right, there we go. So save that. Doesn't actually take that long to save, even though it's a Photoshop file. It will be a lot bigger than the JPEG, but that's because actually the canvas is a lot bigger and you've got multiple layers in there. Right, once that has saved, these are really basic, trust me. The next one was the first one I tried in terms of generating something that wasn't already there, and that I didn't think it would do a good job with. Again, there were three options. So what I'm going to do now, I'm not going to open the JPEG version of this. I will show you the JPEG version of this, if this ever shuts down. In fact, I don't really need to. If I just open up the PDF, the Photoshop file, PSD, you will see that I've already added the canvas, the space that I need. And I have already done it. But that is only because if we reach the limit of what it'll let us do tonight, I don't want you to miss out on it. So, opening up another one. This one, all of these are stock images, and I deliberately picked the stock images that to me were like, oh, it would have been good if. So with this one, actually we've seen the after, not the before. Hang on. Let's see the before. That's the before. Nothing at the bottom. So I had the whole of that to go at, and I did my selection. I did select a little bit more of that. Don't know whether you need to or not. But my result wasn't bad. So what I was interested in, could it generate feet? And what would it do with the chair? And then there's this leg over here. So again, I didn't need to tell it what I needed because there was enough information there. And all I actually wanted with that was that it finished it off, if you will. So I'm clicking Generative Fill and I'm clicking Generate. Now the good news for Renee is that there is something you can do today and it's totally free. So we're coming on to that. So let's see how well it does live on the night. Add clown shoes. You could do that if you wanted to. You could do that. What I would do if it was that, I wouldn't have typed that into what we've already seen. I wouldn't. But that's not at all bad, is it? That is absolutely perfect. The chair is perfect. The leg is perfect on the desk. That's actually better than my first go with it. So we do have three alternatives. And the great thing with this is, now the floor is different with that. Chair not quite so good. But if I wanted clown shoes, I would do this first and I would get the feet there. And then I would select the feet and say clown shoes. So no, the rest isn't. That's the best one. First one was the best one. But it's done a great job with the table legs. It's done a great job with the floor. And the beauty of the generative layer is that it remains editable after you've generated it. And what I mean by that is, with this second one selected, you can see that in the properties, you've got your 3 variations. If you had a prompt, the prompt would be there. And you would be able to regenerate, so generate another 3 options and another 3 options and keep going with it. You would be able to do that even after you've saved the file and closed it down, which is the benefit of having it inside Photoshop and not on some kind of website where it generates it and then it deletes it. You know, you would have to download it, you would have to have it. But if we wanted to do that, then let's have a go and see how it gets on with clown shoes. So I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to give it enough space because the clown shoes might be pretty big. So I need to make a selection. Let's just try one, because otherwise it might crash. But I've made a selection. So I go to Generative Fill, and obviously this time I do need to put something like replace shoe with a big red clown shoe. Hit generate on that, and it will go away and have a think about it, and hopefully it will add it. But beauty of it is it will add it on a 3rd generative layer in here. So the first generative layer was my prep, the second was the one we've just generated, and the third one is going to hopefully have on it a big clown shoe. So you can toggle that on and off. So we can go in there and toggle that off if we wanted to see what the shoe was before. But it's still in here. We can still have our 3 variations. That actually looks like a stiletto. And that one, no, that's not great. But there you go. Now, if you wanted to get more specific with that, you could say with big yellow laces or whatever. So yes, you can do all of that. But we have other images to work with. So we'll save that one. And
question from Tracy.
Okay.
How large is an image file like this?
The files that I've downloaded to use with it are very big. They were all from Envato Elements. And they are around, some of them are about 13,000 pixels square. In terms of the size that we end up with, we started with a JPEG at 4.9 meg, and we have ended up with an Adobe Photoshop file, brace yourselves, of 882 meg. So there's a lot of data in there, but these are really high quality images. I didn't have time to play around because what happened, Mike, 40 minutes before showtime?
You rebooted.
Well, I rebooted, yes, but then what happened? I tried to open Photoshop and it says, oh, there's an update.
Oh, yeah.
Update to the beta. And I thought, oh, no, do I do this or not? But I did. I did update it. So obviously there's a lot of data in there. I didn't take the 5 meg file and turn it into a 1 meg file and try doing it with that, because I worked on the principle, the better the underlying image, the better the generation of it may be. So I'm going back to another image, and I'm thinking at this stage I'm going to try something which may be a good idea, or it could be one of the worst ideas I've ever had. Do you know what? I'm going to try it with one. What's happening is I've got these images in Dropbox, and that could be impacting the bandwidth. So I'm going to take one of these, the next one, and I am going to put it on a new toy I acquired this week, which is a 1 terabyte SSD card shoved in the back of the machine. So, blindingly fast. Right, so let's have a look at that one. Right, let me check that. Hopefully that should be better. Right, with the next one I'm going to show you, image started at 10 meg and the resulting image was 400. So yes, there is a lot of data here. I could render it down, of course I could, Simon, but I don't know how well it would then generate. So I'm figuring the better the image, the better the result. So with this one, obviously, same principle as extending the photo to the left and to the right, but this time I'm extending it down. And I'm hoping that it understands that it needs to generate 6 legs. 2 each, preferably. So obviously I have already done this, so I could just turn it on, but I will show you that same principle. Point 1, extend it. Point 2, make a selection. Point 3, generate, and you are done. So there's the selection, there's the fill. If I wanted to be precise, I could be, but it's one of those images where it's obvious what the bottom should look like. You can all envisage what the bottom would look like, and so can the AI. So let's let it strut its stuff and see how we go with this. Hopefully it won't add legs to the baby in arms. But it did a reasonable job with this the first time that I did it. And I do have that there. There we go. That one, pretty perfect. Pretty perfect. Of course, I have alternatives. So I'll have a look at the alternatives. One of the ones that I did was absolutely hysterical. Now that one, you can see that the girl is dressed totally differently. And the path is completely different as well. So, of course, if you wanted to be precise, you could be more precise. If you wanted them in dress shoes, you could say that. The one that I did, I ended up with a guy who ended up with girl legs, which was quite funny. But I think with that one, first probably better. Now, with that one, I would say generating something like that is difficult. Certainly if you're trying to do it yourself, I mean, it can be done, but it would take hours. Whereas whether it's perfect or not is irrelevant. It's pretty good. It's good enough for you to get started with. So the one of the landscape where I fix the join, you know, it takes me a lot less time to fix the join with the tool for that than generate the whole thing myself. So there we have the legs. If you want to see what the first one looked like, it was quite different. She's got a dress on, they've all got different shoes on, and again I had a whole range of options for those as well. I think that one is possibly better, but you can see very different. Just keep generating it until you get something that you're actually happy with. So let's toggle that one off. I think that's behaving itself better in terms of saving. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my other files. So that's these. I'm going to take a copy of them and I'm going to put them on this external thing. Good shout from Tracy. I had no idea the files were that big because I didn't look. Because I don't care. But I do care when I'm going live. Then it gets very sniffy with its little self.
Renault says, could you add a grandma?
You could. If you want to add a person, you absolutely could. We'll see. These are getting progressively more difficult. Come on, put this stuff on there. There we go. Right. So the data I'm moving is 7 gig. And there are 2, 4, 6, 7 folders. Right, but what I need to do on here... Luckily, because it's an SD card, it's blindingly fast. Right, let me change the sort on this and get the next file up. Sort by name. Where you go. Right, so the next one is a family, so similar to that one, but this time there's more of them and it's trickier. So again, I'm going to open up the Photoshop file rather than the JPEG, just in case we run out of what we need to do. So let's open that one. So this time it's more difficult. With that one that we're looking at, I mean, it's amazing that it can do that. Utterly amazing. But the fact that this time we've got 5 of them and 2 scooters, possibly tricky. So we'll do the same again, which is I've already extended it. This time I'm just going to select it and hit generate. So generative fill and then generate. Not going to tell it what to do. The 3 that I got back last time with this, one of them was great, but not the scooters. I mean, that they could actually be on bikes, but I think they're on scooters. So what I did with that was I took the best that it had generated, and then I asked it to regenerate the scooters. So we'll see what it comes up with. Not bad. Not bad. In terms of, not quite sure what that black thing is there. But this guy in the shorts has got his leg back. Both the girls have got their legs. These 2, absolutely fine. Down here, we've got weirdness going on with the scooters. So we'll take a look at the options. One of the ones I had, the one that was the best, apart from the scooters, they looked like pogo sticks. So the sticks just went and stuck in the ground, and that was it. So this one, totally different. We've got a wheel at the front here. This one's got no shoes on. But we could just select that and say, put a flip-flop on, put a trainer on, or whatever. And you could select this and say, a red scooter or whatever. So you're not left with what it gives you. It from there, but you're back to the fact that could you generate the legs, because the rest of it you can tweak. So we'll take a look at this last one. It's thinking about that. Yeah, now this one is kind of the wrong way round. This one doesn't look like a scooter at all, and they're stood on grass, whereas before they're on concrete and they've got different shoes. So with this one, I would select enough with the flexible tool to have a scooter there. So all the way down to the front, back up here, maybe a little bit at the back, include the leg, and see what it made of it. So let's see the selection. Okay, generative fill. This time I need to tell it what to fill it with, or it is not going to know. It could end up with another leg in there if I don't tell it. So if I go in here and say scooter and generate that and see how it does. Now, even if you had to do this 10 times, it's still faster than doing it by hand. So let's have a look. The smaller the piece that you ask it to do, obviously the faster it goes, depending on the complexity. So we'll see what it comes up with. Nice big wheel at the front would be good. There is a nice big wheel on the front, but that's not really what we're looking for. But even though we've done the background, you get 3 options with this. So if that one's not very good, then in case of looking at the next one and looking at the next one. And when you say they look like they're using some kind of garden tools, yeah, these images, I totally agree with you. Some of them not right, nowhere near right. I mean, these scooter things, I would need to be more descriptive, and I would need to give it a different instruction maybe. But how many times have we already seen images that have been photoshopped, massive air quotes? There was one last week, and it was a politician, and they'd taken a photograph of somebody helping somebody, and he had photoshopped himself in next to them, which looked great, apart from the fact that he didn't have any legs. And it was blatantly obvious that he'd photoshopped it. These are not as bad as that, trust me. So, and we'll go into the next one. Come on. Right. Let's see if you're going to let me save it quickly and close it. That would be good. You are. Awesome. I'm going to leave you closing it, because if I try closing it and it's not fully saved, then I get a message that tells me it's going to wait. But it stops saving at that point until I click OK on the message. So I definitely don't need that. Right, should we go for something even trickier? Right, let's have a look at this one. This one did great the first time round, so we'll go for this one. Right. It's opening. Right, so this one, you could take the background out if you wanted. Depends what you want to do. You can remove the background, or you can select the subject. So if you want to remove the subject or put the subject in another image, then you can select the subject. If what I want to do is not just remove the background, so it's making a selection of the person at the moment. When it's done, you'll see the marching ants around it. The remove background would do just that and leave this girl masked off. That is how it would look. But what we want to do here, and I would need to make one tweak to this, which is this little bit here, I think needs removing. But I am not playing around with it at the moment. Right, with this one, if I would like her stood in front of something else, I have 2 options. One is to remove the background and then put the background of my choosing in. But if I don't have a background to put her against, then selecting the background won't actually help. It will just leave it that there's nothing there. But if you take the approach of selecting the girl, you have an option that then becomes available in your context-sensitive toolbar where you can invert the selection. So hitting that will mean that the girl is then not selected, but the rest of the image is selected, including all of the background. So waiting for that magic to happen, I have clicked the button. Go on, you know you want to do it. It doesn't even look like it's trying at the moment. I could click it. Oh, there we go. Right, that time it worked. So you can see I've got the marching ants around the edges, and they're around the girl as well, and in the gap here. Right, so at that point, it's the background that's selected, and you, with Generative Fill, will adjust whatever is selected. So with the girl not selected, if you hit Generative Fill, where should we stick her? Didn't I put this one in front of a sports stadium? And I specifically said UK football, and it ended up at an American football ground. So, but we could say, you know, a green hill or whatever. Let's make sure we've got all of that. Let's say outside a sports stadium. So, outside of a sports stadium. Now, you can then get imaginative with how you describe this. So outside of a sports stadium.
So Greg's symbol.
No, it's not going to understand Greg's at the moment. I'm worrying about him, you know. Is this all you eat? So outside of a sports stadium, we'll have a depth of field on it. We will have people. Let's leave it at that, because the more complicated this is, the longer it's going to take. So let's do it there. Yes, GR eggs. You see, you will never call it Greg's again now. You need to do the search on YouTube, and you'll find that video where it was mentioned. So if you've got a background that you want to put her against, then that's simple enough. Just knock the background out. If you don't, if you want to describe the background, then select the girl, invert it, and then describe your background. And hopefully we'll end up with a sports stadium of some description here. With her taking a photo. You see, I figured outside a sports stadium. But we will find out. We will find out. And by putting depth of field on it, it means I want it kind of blurry. That's shocking. It could be the outside of a sports stadium, but that is not what I was meaning. I was meaning something more like this, where there was people. So let's find out. There we go. Not much of a depth of field on that, but she is now stood in front of people. And this one looks like a racetrack. Again, of some description. And this is not great here, so I would want to work on that. But you could always generate it again. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to go back to this original. And this time I am going to select. Now you've seen I can select the subject, and you can see that I can remove the background. So removing the background is as simple as just tapping on remove background and letting it strut its stuff. And you will end up with nothing behind her. So she is there, but she is not on a layer of her own. If you actually look at what that has done in the layers, you can see it's actually masked it off. So you could adjust that, and you could fix this little problem with the leg here, but I'm not going to bother with that. So let's undo that. So we are back to her, and I am going to make a selection here. So I'm getting from the waist down, and I'm not that concerned about this selection being perfect. So it's a little bit wider and up there. So I have made a selection of her bottom half. Simon is now worried. Simon is worried where this is going. But I'm going to do a generative fill on it. Do one I did earlier to share, because it was perfect. But what I'm going to do with this one is a generative fill, but only of half of her, which is the bottom half. And I'm going to describe what I want. So what I want is her in a pair of jeans. So add jeans. You can see it typing in episodes, and when you're done, generate. So we'll see what we get. Of course, we can go for the best of 3, as usual. The one that I got, or one of the ones that I got, the first time I did it was absolutely perfect. So I've saved that. Because it will be different every time. The selection will be different every time. And it is random. So it's just like when you're doing a repair with the repair tools. It's random. So how good it will be will depend. We are all waiting with bated breath. There we go. Don't go wrong now. So with that one, she got a bag on as well. 1 foot behind the other. I don't think the feet kind of match the stance that you would be in for a photo. But the fact that you can just take one half of a person and change it is pretty stunning. So let's have a look at the other options we've got. I'll show you the one it generated the first time, which I thought was amazing. So, yep, that's not bad either. They have a fetish for them standing on one leg, don't they? I'm sure the other one wasn't. Again, different genes, different stance with the feet. Right, my first one was this Generative Layer 1 at the top. So we went from that, and we went to that, which I thought you can't really tell which is the original with that. What I will say is that I've noticed with all of these, if we look at the Generative Layer at the top, maybe the ladies can tell me if they notice something. The guys, of course, will just be blinded by her beauty. But I noticed something very specific with these, which some ladies will love and others will think it is not good. So that one's with a bag. I didn't rate that one. I preferred the third one, but I actually thought the first one was by far the best. So again, the bag is underneath her shirt, but apart from that, you can't, it doesn't look like the lady was cut in half and then legs glued on. I did notice all of them. So the 3 that I did first and the 3 that it's done tonight, there is something that I noticed about all of them, which is, if I just toggle this on and off, it has literally knocked at least 1.5 stones off the woman. So the results seem to be a little bit Instagram-ish, that they are much skinnier. You look at how she's normal there, the result always seems to be skinnier if it's a woman. And I mean considerably skinnier. Which isn't really on, but there you go. That may be intentional. That may be what people who are using this for product shots and stuff want. But not really. It's a bit naughty, is that? It's a bit naughty. But to go from that to that, pretty impressive. Right. So I will get rid of that one and go to the next one. Right. Let's save that one. And what do we have next? Oh, here we go. I have to say yes, or it gets all upset with its little self. See, it stops saving until I say okay. I mean, that's ridiculous. If the files weren't that big, wouldn't need doing, would it? Right. Okay, we'll do this one. So having done the lady, I figured we'd have to do the gentleman. So I'm going to show you the image because I'm opening up the finished thing here. So, this is the image, previewing the JPEG, right. That is the image I'm working with, and that is the full image. Right, obviously I need his legs, but what makes that tricky is that we've got an open car door, we've got a wheel, we've got the back of the car. It's tricky, but that's now. My mouse has stopped. Where are you? Where are you? Right. So, I think I'm going to open that one. Oh, for Tracy, because this has got a lot more pixels in it, this single image is 1.54 gig. Maybe that wasn't the best idea I've ever had. Having said that, the original image was 24 meg. So that's why it's a lot bigger. But let's open it. What are you doing? Let's open it and see what we get. Right, that's the image I want, so let me open it. Have we got any questions while it thinks about opening that? Because it's quite huge.
Yeah, only Richard saying when you were doing that river one, Is it searching for a real place or completely making it up what the real place looks like? It'll be interesting to see what the real place looks like.
Yeah, I can imagine people will be taking photos with quite a narrow viewpoint and then expanding it and then doing a comparison. It is using AI, so because it's different every time, it's not looking for a place and trying to find a match. That may come down the line, but that's not what it's doing at the moment. Oh, this is a big file, isn't it? But it'll be worth it when we see it. We got anything else?
No.
Okay, so with this one, the first thing I did was I expanded it downwards, obviously. So you can see what I did then with the canvas because I needed to expand it sideways as well. But I started off with this bit here, expanding downwards. So I have got a finished version if this all goes, because the file is absolutely huge. But I don't need to tell it what I want, again, because there is enough information there. It should know what I want at the bottom of it. Definitely, I want his legs for a start, and preferably the car as well, finishing off. So I want the wheel, I want the door finishing. So we'll see what it can do that way. And then we'll go the other way. I thought this one was probably the most difficult I asked it to work with, just because of the car, the wheel, the door, the legs, the whole works. So we're nearly there, thinking about it. What I found was interesting was how they changed the shoes on the feet. So in giving you options, the stance changed and so did the shoes on the feet. That is shocking. Trust me, the others are better. It could be, change these, it could be because I didn't have this canvas there at the time. And because I didn't tell it what to do, although this bit's not good, that's much better. That's much better. We've got the car wheel, we've got the door, we've got the back of it. He needs to be taller. So I would need to do something with the height on that. But I'm suspecting it's because I have this area on the left there. So I will show you what I generated when I did this step by step, rather than having the full canvas there. But we will try the third one. Not bad. Not bad. And then I expanded it sideways. So we'll do that first and then we'll see what we've got. So I took that bit from there. Obviously I extended the canvas, I wouldn't, but just select that. And what you're asking it to do this time with the generative fill is very similar to the one by the lock. I'm assuming that was a lock in Scotland, which is just expand it sideways. So take what's on the horizon, take the ground here and expand it sideways. And that one's fairly straightforward. In terms of expanding it on the right, that would be much more difficult. You would need to tell it what to do, because I don't think there's enough information here for it to know that, you know, there should be another wheel round about here and the back of the car. It has no clue. When we expanded it downwards, it did. It could look up and work out what should be down here, but I think moving it to the right would probably be too much for it. So let's have a look what it's doing here. And it did a reasonably good job the first time. You're quite right, Simon. Even however shocking it is, it would save time. It absolutely would. I mean, with that I can't see the join. So I might want to tidy up the ground a bit. I might want to change him to put him in trainers. Let me show you what mine looked like the first time. So let's toggle these off. Right, so I think the first attempt was the bottom. That was the very first attempt with it. And then the second one, I did the piece at the side, and you can see that actually looks more like a runway. These markings on it, the wear on it, looks more like a runway. But, you know, I could work with that. I actually think his legs need to be longer. I think he needs to be taller. This looks out of proportion. But I could do something with it, and I think it'd shave off more than an hour. Wow. I mean, just with the vehicle, I would probably have attempted to get an image of a vehicle and try and patch it in some kind of way. So it's all about saving time and adding things in that, you know, you couldn't get a photo of anyway. So the thing with the Arctic station and all of that. Right, okay. So what I'm going to do with that is close these down. Oh, I will. I'll move it out of the way, because what I'm about to do is go on to the second thing. So, are you saving? You are, but it's quite slow, isn't it? Good job. It's going to an SSD. Right. Did we save all of these? I can't remember if we did or not. Right. Looks like that's saved. We'll find out. Right, I've got all of these. Did I leave all of these open? Good grief. Right, let's get rid of this. And is he saved? Yes, just save it. Right, I've said yes, come on. Right, go on to that one. Have you finished? It's probably a good idea of mine. Oh, it's saving 2 documents now. Well, we've got 3 open, so I wonder which ones it's saving. Right, it's probably a good idea to close this down before I attempt to go on to the next bit, which is the free bit. Okay. Still saving, still saving. Tell you what, you go over there, and I will bring on what I need, which is here. Right, so that is what we need first. So those are the generative tools, what they're calling the generative tools, which we first saw in Firefly. They're putting them in officially. Oh, crying out loud. Right, now it's bringing this back. Couldn't save it because it's too big. It's over 2 gig. Do you know what? Let's just shut you down and don't save. Away you go. Away you go. And don't come over my slides. That's downright rude. I've got my slides open and that comes up. Right. So we looked at them in Firefly. And those are the tools that they've put in Photoshop in the beta. Officially, that's coming out in Q4. Right. But they have also updated Firefly. So if you remember, this was what we did when we first looked at it. So there were 3 tools, and I said there would be more tools on the way. But those were the 3 that we looked at. We looked at text to image, where you describe what you want and it did it. We looked at text effects, so putting an effect inside text with various fonts. And we uploaded an SVG file and we recolored it. So we did the 3 things that were there. They have updated, so we now have 1 extra tool available and 2 more in exploration. So the generative fill that you've seen me use inside Photoshop is available in Firefly. You may think, why would you use Photoshop and pay for it if it's in Firefly and that's free? It's free at the moment. But don't forget that anything and everything that you download from there has a big watermark in the corner. Also, if you're trying to upload your images, you've got the time to wait while it uploads it, whereas it's much faster to open it in Photoshop. But it is available and it is free. So the first one, as I say, is the generative fill. The other 2 are 3D to image. So you have a 3D model and you tell it how to decorate it, in essence. And then there is the extend image option, which you've already seen, which is extending it up, down, left, right. So the one that we can look at the moment is the generative fill. So let's have a look at that. So I need a browser. There's the browser. And it's this one in here. So I'm going to use some of the examples that they've got in here. And I've done these a few times before. I've got a whole range of these, should this not be working. But let's just take one of these. And how it works, you make a selection. So if I wanted to put, and I did do this over here, and some of them work better than others, but if I want to put something on there, what I'm doing is the equivalent of making a selection. So that's me making a selection. It's telling it where I want to put what I am about to describe. So what I'm about to describe is a cruise ship. Let's just say cruise ship. You can get very, very detailed if you want to. And yes, I did try the helicopter on this as well. But let's add that. So the colour's not right. It just looks like it's stuck on there. I could have been more descriptive and said, you know, in a pinky haze. But in essence, you make a selection and you tell it to put that thing there. That one matches much better. You can generate more if you want. So instead of getting 3 options, like in Photoshop, you're getting 4. You hit the more option, it toddles off, and it does the same again. Now, what I would say is, you know, if it's not right, change the prompt. So that one matches better, the colours are better. But if you'd given it some information about the colour, then that would work better still. So there's that option there. I think with this one, let's keep that one. So you've made your choice and then you're keeping that one. What I also did in here was I thought, let's have some lightning striking that. I'm using the square brackets, just like in every image editing app, to put up there kind of space for some lightning. So I just put that in. Again, some of this was great, some of it wasn't. You could be more descriptive. You could say, you know, lightning striking pink with a haze and blah, blah, blah. But I've told it in essence where I want it, and that looks pretty natural to me. You do get your 4 options. So some may be more intense, some will be a different shape. Like that one's not quite as clear as the second one. The second one's clearer. So I think the second one is probably the best one there. And then you can keep that. So that is one of the samples from there. I'm going to go back and pick one of the other ones now. So, and these are available for you to play with. So one of the things here, I've got some examples with this one. And what I did with that was I put the Samoyed in the spacesuit next to him. So I will show you that rather than actually do it live. But I will show you, I've got some with the building, I've got some with this little fella, and I've got quite a few with her. So for something like this one, if you want to change where that is, so obviously it's on the side of a mountain somewhere. Does it look like a James Bond house again, doesn't it? But what you can do with that is you can either try and make a selection of it, or you could click the background. And when you do that, it takes the background away, and you tell it where you would like that. So if I put in there, add a forest background, it will move that house to a forest. So that was one of the examples that I did. So you've made a selection by getting rid of the background, and now you're generating a new background. You're not limited with that. Once it's done it and you're happy with it, that does not fit, but neither does that. The size is off. That's not bad. Right, that one's probably the best. So once you decide that you're going to keep that, you can carry on working with it. So here, I'm going to make that much smaller, and I'm going to select part of the front of that and part of the top of it, like that. And I am going to put on there a tabby cat with a paw hanging over the edge. Hanging over the edge, that should do. It should do it from that. In fact, it did it for me without, it had the paw hanging over without me even suggesting that. So that's not great, can't see the cat. In fact, you can't see any of those, so we'll cancel that, we'll try again. Let's take with the paw off, let's just say a tabby cat, because that's what I put, and it was genius, it knew exactly what to do with the cat. So fingers crossed it knows what to do with the cat, or we will have to rely on the one I created earlier. There we go. So that cat is kind of almost on the wall. That's not a tabby cat. So that one, you've got the cat and you've got his tail hanging over the edge. Just too cute, isn't it? That one, no, because it's taken away part of that. So probably the second one, reasonable. So I will show you, because I don't want to be doing this, it would have to generate about 12 times. Because I put in butterflies, I put in a dog, I put in owls, you name it, I put it in. So I'll show you this one when we've done this. But that's the kind of thing that you can do with it. Right, this little fella, that was fun. Because I thought he looked so down. he needs to sit in something. So I took this here, covered that like that. I think I even covered his paws. And I put a stock pot. So I had, as though it was being cooked. Did I put it in as two separate words? I've no idea. Let's try. But again, all you're doing is making a selection and then tell it what you want in the area that you have selected. And all of this at the moment is totally free. So there he is, sat in his stock pot that's half buried in the forest. That one definitely looks like a saucepan, doesn't it? Not so good, that one, because of the bit at the front. But that you can actually see his little paws there. No wonder he looks sad. He looks sad, doesn't he? Another thing that I did with that one, so let's cancel out of that and clear that, was I think I took the background, so I was only left with him, and I changed it to a toy room with a giant stuffed panda. And again, you might have to do this 3, 4, 5 times until you get the right thing. It did it pretty well for me the first time, but we'll see how it copes tonight. Poor thing. Don't see the giant panda, but and he's far too big. But you get the idea for how this works. Now, these images that I'm using are, of course, the standard images, the test images. You can go and do this yourself right now. But you can upload your own. So if we go back to here, you can see you can upload your own image. Right, this one was interesting. Right, so with this one, let's see what we can manage. So obviously she's got dark hair. So if I make a selection, and again, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, although I would try and get all of her hair, because that's what I want changing. So if I leave like a dark bit, because what I want to do is change her into a blonde. So let's take this and get as much of that as possible, including all of this all the way down here, and that little dark bit there. Finally get this bit. That is hair, but I may have taken too much out there. But let's get the last bit. So I've selected it and describe what I want. Make the girl a blonde. Is it true blondes have more fun? I don't think anyone could have more fun than me. And I'm not blonde. Right, let's see what it can do. It did a reasonable job when I did it. Can't remember the exact prompt that I used though. But now she has blonde hair. And that is pretty good. We're not talking out of proportion or anything else either. That is pretty good. I'm impressed with that. There are, again, 4 options. So slightly different hairstyles. So if one suits your purpose better than another, depending on where you're going on. So that looks more messy than the first one. Let's go for the first one. This looks nicely integrated here. So we'll go for that one. So I'll keep that one. Right, next thing I'm going to do, orange jacket, you know, all very well. But let's get rid of it. So covering the whole of her and getting rid of the top as well. Simon's getting worried again. No, it's all right. I'm going to dress her in something. Right. I know I'm not going to do the bikini thing because it'd probably start moaning. Right. So I'm going to have to be careful here when I make this selection that I'm not leaving anything behind that dialog box because I can't see what is behind that dialog box. So I'll get rid of what I can actually see. But the beauty of this is, unlike when we used to make selections and you clicked away and you lost everything, right? That will remain like that. So I can scroll up and then take out the rest of it. So I'm taking out all of the orange. Right. Like that. And then let's put her in a wedding dress. So, white wedding dress with her new blonde hair, and see if we can get her in a wedding dress and how nice it is. Have you noticed this is actually faster than Photoshop? So it's added more hair, and we do have a wedding dress. Not bad, possibly a little bit off on the left hand side. I have seen much worse. That's a classy wedding dress. Don't know why her hair's turned red, though. Not bad again. Reasonable. Now, this one, I find this really interesting, where hands suddenly appear. You know, I didn't ask for that, but her hand has suddenly appeared. That's not bad. We'll go with that one. Right, so I'm going to keep that. So I've made 2 changes so far, done the hair, and now put her in a wedding dress. Right, what I'm going to do next is change the background. So select the background, which leaves her there, and add something like the outside of a church. Again, add a depth of field, and wedding guests, and see what we get. Sometimes it's great, sometimes less so. But even changing her hair from dark to blonde would have taken some time. So are you done? There we go. So yes, it's outside a church. We have wedding guests. Outside another one. That doesn't match as well because the depth of field isn't quite right. And I'm not sure who would turn up to a wedding in a white t-shirt. Or a red one either. But you never know these days, do you? Again, I prefer the first one. I think the first one's much better. So I can keep that. So we've gone from that, which I will download, and I've got a whole range of these to show you, rather than sit waiting for it to sort itself. We've gone to that, but we started with that, with her in a market. Just amazing. Amazing. So this is available today. All you need is an Adobe account, and I think it's now open to everybody. You did used to have to go on a wait list, etc. But I believe as of Tuesday, it's now open to everybody with an Adobe account. So let's go back into here and see some of the others. So, I started, these were all the demo files. These are not files that I've uploaded, these were the demo files. So I started with that, and I thought it's lacking a dog. That's what it needs. And I thought the beauty of that is, I mean, it's got a, I don't have a photo of a dog in a spacesuit, but the way it's added the shadow is totally perfect. So I got lots of different dogs. And I put them all in there. And then I thought the cat lovers won't be happy if we don't have a cat in a spacesuit. So then I did the cat ones as well. So some better than others, but you get the idea. This one was the one with the cruise liner behind it, but I also added a whale or something jumping up and down. So I had that one as well. And, as promised, helicopter. But notice with the helicopter, I also changed the entire landscape and added in another lighthouse. So that was what the rocks looked like originally, but they ended up looking like that with my helicopter coming in. Then there was what I did with the girl, which was not only changing the clothes, I also changed her sunglasses as well. And then changed the dress again and moved her to an evening place. Changed this where both hands appeared, and I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? Didn't expect that. Moved it to a sports stadium. Then I did the wedding dress, so a totally different wedding dress with a totally different background, with different coloured hair, and put on a nice little tiara for her. Then there was this one, so that's what I started with, but I wanted it in kind of a snowscape. So I moved it. There's the cat hanging off the wall, and there's the Sammy underneath, looking longingly at the cat. Exactly the same image, and this one did take a bit longer. I put this in the Enchanted Forest with butterflies flying around, the Sammy. There's an owl in the tree in the top left that I added him. I think that was it. I did try adding a parrot, but it didn't end well. So I decided to leave it alone. Then there was this one. That was a simple file that I uploaded. So this isn't one of their sample files. This was what I uploaded. And I thought, let's have some smoke coming off the top of there, as if it were a volcano. Then there was orange. That was me putting him in a different forest. Then I gave him 2 friends to play with. I picked the tiger because I thought the colours would complement the little fella. This was when I said to put him in a playroom, and I thought that worked great. I liked him. So that's what you can do today. If you have Photoshop, you can get the Photoshop beta. If you don't, then you can use Firefly for free. So, we got any questions? Because I cannot see the chat at the moment.
Don't think... no. No questions.
Right, okay. You need to tell me if we've got any sound on this, but it's not a crisis because we're going to VO it as we go. But we have an unboxing. We have an unboxing. Following on from last week's unboxing, we have an unboxing. So, this happened this week. Something arrived. It was so funny because Mike brought it up and said, this is your whatever it was from Amazon. I said, that's not mine from Amazon. It's the wrong shape. You've probably got an idea what's coming if you've read the thing on the side. You see my filthy nails as well while you're at it.
There is sound.
Good. I'm glad I remembered. So, very gingerly, I opened it. The top looked the same as last week, but what was in it, totally different. Here we go. So there's, there you can see it better. So this time it had sticks in it, and this was to hold it in place, and it did its job. It worked brilliantly. That was the one that last week, of the plant the week before. They both smell as fabulous as the week before, though they did smell amazing in week one. But I think Tracy has been venting her spleen to the supplier, don't you? And these turned up. Was it Tuesday? Wednesday? Wednesday, I think. Yeah, I think it was Wednesday. But we needed to do the unboxing on video because we didn't dare leave them. Something might have happened, so we had to extricate them from their box straight away, which we did. So that's week 2 of a gift from Tracy. So Tracy, thank you very much for sending the originals, but also thank you for doing whatever you did because they turned up. And the one the week before was quite dark. I mean, I don't know what these plants are supposed to look like, so I've no idea. But I can see that these ones do look, they're much bigger for a start, and they smell amazing. So the first thing we did was give them a drink of water. We're not quite sure how much water to give them. There's no instructions. I think we've got instructions for one of them from last time, though, haven't we? Because I don't want to kill it with kindness and give it too much to drink. But I think I stand more chance of these being alive a week from now than the first lot. So Tracy, thank you very much. Is Tracy in the house?
She was. I don't think she is now.
Oh, she's got to see the unboxing. She got to see that this time they were amazing. Right, so let's move on. What we got coming up? We have another show next week, hopefully, weather permitting. And of course, I looked at this, as I looked at the emails and thought I need to add June's, and that reminded me it's WWDC on the 5th of June. We will be having a MacBites Live starting an hour before the official show, and then we will chat our way through the hopefully fabulous, you're listening to me, fabulous keynote. Fingers crossed. Right, available on demand, we have everything that we do on the channel, so that is youtube.com/Elaine Giles. We also have a dedicated After Hours playlist. The video usually gets added to the playlist straight away. The timings, we had a question about this last week. The timings, we cannot get them up there any faster than at least 18 hours after we've finished. Because if we sit there, you've done this, haven't you? If we sit there and painstakingly, because it's a manual process, make a note of the times and then publish it, YouTube changes them. I don't know how or why either, but it does. So it's as if it's calibrating and recalibrating and generating the, there's auto chapters it does, but they're never right. And it's also generating the subtitles. So I can only assume it tweaks it slightly. So that's why if you want to watch anything again, leave it till at least Saturday afternoon UK time, because that's the earliest we can get them up there. But the links are quite helpful if you only want to watch a certain bit. Although why would you? Say. Anyway, the After Hours playlist is at macbites.co.uk/After Hours playlist. And of course, we love you guys. If you have enjoyed anything tonight, do give us a thumbs up. YouTube likes it, just not quite as much as we do. There's also a subscribe button in there. So if you subscribe, you get notified of everything that we do on the channel. There is my mailing list, which is all to do with Affinity and Scrivener and things like that. All of the MacBites stuff is available on the MacBites list, which is macbites.co.uk/macbites-mail. In between times, we have Slack, where we carry on the conversation. If you are not already a member, you can join by going to macbites.co.uk/join Slack. It's totally free. If you are a member, you can access Slack by going to macbites.co.uk/Slack. And with that, we are done. So, call for questions. While I do that, and then I can go in and see the chat, because I can't see the chat right now. Okay, let me see the chat. And there we are. I can see the chat. Right, okay. Oh, Renee says I've got to keep them alive. Well, I stand more chance. Put it like that. Stand more chance. Right, so what we got in here? Oh, thank you, Renee. You're very welcome. Thank you, Kim. Glad you enjoyed it. Thank you, Debbie. Oh, they'll give an unbelievable flavour to your food. I'm not at that point yet. I want to sniff them outside. Tracy promises with the smell, and that they are quite pungent, that outside they will attract butterflies. So fingers crossed, that's exactly what happens. Yes, we have another bank holiday weekend. I could get used to this. It's the 3rd in 5 weeks. I could definitely get used to this. I wonder what mischief we will find to entertain ourselves with. Apart from the last football match of the season, which is Sunday, isn't it? No, I've lost him.
It's one the week after.
Oh, I know. Yeah, yes, but that's not the Premier League, is it?
League,
no.
Yeah.
That's the cup final. And on the cup final, we have to have chicken in a basket because that's the Giles tradition. And you had an omelette. So a chicken omelette, I think, is in order. I think so. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Peter. So if we have no more questions, I'm sensing an ice cream in my imminent future because I'm very hot. And all the ice I started with at 9 o'clock has melted and I've drunk most of it. So I think an ice cream is definitely in order. Right, okay then, we will head off. So I will say good night from me.
Good night from me.
And we will both see you next time. Stay safe, guys.